Welcome to another Facehammer Old World show. In this show, I am going to be doing a deep dive on all things Tomb Kings. I'm going to be going through all of their unit profiles and rules from the Ravening Hordes book, as well as the extra lists and rules from the Arcane Journal. In this show, I'll be talking mostly about my opinions and talk about like sort of competitive play, things to look out for, what units I think are good, which I think are bad. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to take the best units. I just normally aim my content at competitive play. By all means, the rule of cool's a thing. If you like a model, take that model because you want to use that model. I've done that in the past. I mean, I was the crazy guy who took Necrosphinxes to the ETC. You know, it happens. I like the models, I take them, and I try and get the best out of them. So hopefully this will be useful for you. So I've done an army list show, how I show you how to talk about writing effective army lists, and I've talked about battlefield roles. This is my kind of interpretation of what you need and what you're trying to achieve. Just as a recap, you are trying to score more points than your opponent. So anything that allows you to score points and not give up points is good. So that's the way I'm going to approach this. I'm also going to talk a lot about Tomb King specific things because they are very different to most armies. You have things like the Hierophant, which you must protect, and that becomes really important to ensure you've got an effective way of protecting your Hierophant. And there are some new options available in this edition that weren't available in previous that help you do that. So I'll talk about those. I'm also going to talk a little bit about if I think some list concept ideas. I'm not going to write army lists in this show. I will follow this up and I'll probably do a couple army lists for each different army of infamy and the main roster, because I'm trying to plan my Tomb King army out myself. Now the problem I've got is I've got loads of stuff I love and I want to use. So, you know, I love Scorpions, I love Bone Giants, and so I will be writing quite a few different lists. I even got a Settra list in mind. I already thought about converting up some Tomb Guard Chariots. And essentially, my Tomb King army is going to be the army that I'm going to have the most stuff of, because I have to rebuild it now, which is a bit unfortunate. But I do have a lot of stuff. It's just in a bit of a mess. So it's going to take me some time to put it together. First thing I'm going to do, though, is tidy up my warriors. So this is one of my Chaos Knights that I've dusted off. I will be putting these on the right bases. And then I will be doing the same with my High Elves, and then I can do some how to play videos with models as demonstration. I haven't done that yet because I just don't have any models on the right basis to do it with. Unfortunately, most of my square base Warhammer is on rounds or missing or, you know, whatever. So once I have that, I will do those how to play videos, and sorry for the delay on those. Anyway, let's get into the show. Let's talk about all things Tomb Kings, and so get ready for some hammer to your face. So let's talk special rules. Now, I know in the books the special rules are at the end. It's very important to understand what these do, because when you read the entries, you need to know these. So some cool rules. Most of these would be familiar if you've played Tomb Kings in the past. So there are some subtle differences, which I'll talk about. Tomb Kings can stand and shoot now, where they couldn't in the past, which means that archers, I think, have gone up in value. The Royal Host cohorts are really good as well, because you can stand and shoot with volley fire and move and volley fire, so they're getting points even if they're not being engaged. And that's one of the things I'll think about with Tomb Kings, is that your deployment's massively important, and if your blocks are not in the right position, your opponent's not going to just charge into them. So unless you can get to them and be in movement 4, not being able to march, that's a big deal. But again, in this edition, flyers can march, so you've got some more options. That's a bit of an aside. So Arrows of Asaph. So it basically means you never apply modifiers to hit. So you're always going to hit on your base ballistic skill. So generally that means you're going to hit on 5s, because most of your skeletons are ballistic skill 2. What is quite good is your Ushabti with great bows do have a ballistic skill of 3, so they do hit on 4s. So maybe that's a unit that might see play. I don't know if the points are worth it. And you've got Cleaving Blow. So a model with this special rule rolls a natural 6. When making a to wound roll, it's a cleaving bow. Enemy models who are regular infantry, heavy infantry, light cavalry, heavy cavalry, or war beast do not get an armor or a regen save. Wards as usual. So it's a bit like a cut price killing blow. I'd say that it's quite nice. This is based on your Tomb Guard mostly. You've got the Curse of Necropolis. Now, I used to love the curse. It never really came up very often. It never did a lot. this is quite weak. They're not really worth. You'll forget this a lot, I think. So if you lose a last wound to an enemy attack, the unit that made the attack takes a leadership test. If they fail it, they take D3 strength 2 hits of an AP of nothing. Sure. I mean, is it even worth rolling? I wouldn't worry about that too much. Dry as dust. So it basically means if you take a wound from a flaming attack, you roll a D6 on a 1 to 3, nothing happens. On a 4+, they take an additional wound. So it says it won't have any benefit unless you're in a challenge for overkill, because excess wounds do not spill over. So like if you have a damage-free weapon and you kill a 1 wound model, you don't kill 3. It's not like Age of Sigmar. It's very different. So it doesn't really come into play that much, but it's important to know for overkill. So really it comes down to when you're challenging out characters that you want to hold up. A good thing about undead though is they generally will hold up most things because they're unbreakable and they've got the unstable rule. More on that in a minute. Indomitable is an interesting rule, this one, because basically there's now extra ways to get this, like if you're Tomb Kings in a unit or Tomb Princes in a unit, your battle standard. And basically what this does is it reduces the number of wounds you take for unstable by the number in the brackets. You don't add them together, you just take the best one. But in the past, this was a construct rule. Constructs used to reduce it by 1. I think you can get up to Indomitable 3 now, because you could do a D3 on the banner if you roll a 3. That's really good. So it's a very good rule for this army, because that's, that just adds up over the game. So I think a BSB now is viable in a Tomb King army. It used to never really be taken unless you wanted a big magic banner, like I think the Mirage stand allows you to put a unit in the sand. Now, being that sort of AoE, I think they used to give you -1, but now it's D3. You might see them more often. So yeah, it also allows you to double stack a banner unit. Kopesh, so basically just a hand weapon, has armor piercing of -1. That's all it does, just flat AP1 hand weapon, which is quite cool. It does say it doesn't apply to any other weapon. If you take 2 weapons or you take a great weapon, it only applies to normal hand weapon. So there you go. Then you've got Nehekharan Phalanx. So if you're in close order and uses shields, it can choose not to give ground. So it's a bit like Shield Wall. But if the winning side significantly outnumbers the losing side, it will overwhelm the loser. So if the unit strength of the winning side is double yours, basically more than double yours, then you have to give ground as usual. And Tomb King stuff doesn't run away, so you just fall back in good order. You don't even fall back in good order, you just push back. So you give ground. So it's very unlikely that, not giving ground is useful, but actually it doesn't really matter. Now, Nehekharan Undead, this is probably obviously this is what makes them special. So basically you cannot march, and it says unless you have the Fly X special rule and choose to move by flying. So there are a few flying models. Being able to march those makes things like the Necrosphinx, I think, pretty good. It does say that all undead models have the following universal special rules: fear, immune to psychology. So immune to psychology means you don't take fear, terror, panic. Unbreakable, you don't take break tests. Unstable, you lose extra wounds by the amount you lose combat by. One important thing to know is that your models have regen saves. Regen saves do count to combat res, so they will cause extra damage from unstable. So just bear that in mind. You've got Resurrecting the Fallen. So in a Tomb Kings of Khemri army, it is possible to heal a unit by recovering lost wounds and resurrect fallen warriors. Wounds are recovered in this way, follow a strict order. Now, this is quite a big change, because in the past, you could not heal characters. So it says that first, any characters that have joined the unit are healed. A character that has been reduced to 0 wounds and removed from play cannot be resurrected. So you can heal characters. If your unit is only a character, when they'll get healed. So second, models with more than 1 wound on their profile are healed. Next, the unit champion is resurrected displacing rank and file models as required, followed by the standard bearer and musician. I'm not sure you'd not have a standard and musician if you have lost everything. You might just have a champion left, I guess. Finally, rank and file are resurrected. It says, note, in the case of multiple wound models, each model must be fully healed, recovering all of its wounds before another can be healed or resurrected. Note that at least one model must remain in order for a unit to be healed. In other words, units have been reduced to 0 wounds and removed from play cannot be resurrected. They are added to the front rank until it reaches the minimum required to claim a rank bonus, after which additional models are added to the front or rear rank. If the unit already has more than one rank, models only be added to the rear rank. A unit cannot be taken above its starting size. So big change there, that you can heal characters. Now the healing is pretty important, and I think now that the way it works, because it used to be a spell, and you used to be able to take things like the Banner of Undying Legion, which gave you an extra d6 models. Now it's an ability. So basically, healing is something you can do with all your liches, and you will want lots of these models if you can get a hold of them. But more on that another time. Now, I will just talk about the lore quickly and get that out of the way. So basically these laws, and I mentioned it on the other show, if you don't know, they work a bit like signature spells, in the fact that whatever law you take, when you swap to a signature instead, you can pick one of these. Now, you've got an enchantment spell on a 7, which is range self, and basically say that until your next start of turn phase, any friendly unit with Nehekharan Undead special rule that is within the caster's command range may re-roll any rolls to hit of a natural 1. Now that is really good. It doesn't say melee. So I think there is a list here with lots of shooting, because you're hitting on 5s, you re-roll natural 1s. That's actually quite a lot, and there are things like the Razor Standard. There's an item that gives them poison. You can actually do quite a lot of damage with your range shooting, and if you're playing the Royal Host and you want to have mixed units where you can fire half the guys in the spear unit as volley fire, and you can also take detachments for stand and shoot. And one thing that's quite important and people probably don't realise is stand and shoot damage counts for combat res. So I actually think there's quite a good army where you're doing a lot of shooting, and this spell would be pretty key for that. Again, it's on a 7 and it's not a remains in play, so it can't be got rid of. And it also works in combat as well, so it's really good. Then you've got the incantation of Desert Wind. It says it's on a 6 or a 10 and against range of self. And what's nice about this is if you cast it on a 6, you still get a benefit, but if you get it on 10, you can basically do more units. They gain the reserve move special rule. So that basically means if they're in their command range, if you roll a 10 or it's the unit you're in, a reserve move is a move in the shooting phase. So I quite like that. It's a move in the shooting phase. It's more movement, and Tomb Kings really knack movement. And what's quite nice about that is that if you do get that 10, every friendly unit within the command range, that could be quite a lot, because it's not wholly within, it's just within, and getting an extra move in the shooting phase, it would be pretty gnarly. Then you've got this incantation of desiccation. Now, this is quite a high cast value, and it is a hex, means you've got to do it in your command phase. It's a range of 15, so they're -1 to strength and toughness. So it's a very good debuff. I mean, if you get this off on a unit and you then play in a load of like shots or combat attacks into it, you could do an awful lot of damage. Lowering their strength could be quite good as well, because it means they do less damage to you. I think this one will be my auto pick. Like Cursed Blades, I'll want that in every list. It benefits everything. It's great. It's not very difficult to cast. It can't be countered other than from an unbind or dispel. But what's good about this, you can cast it in your hero phase out of unbind range. then move into range to affect your units during the other phases, and there's no stopping it then. It's in play already. So if you've got a way of your hero moving fast, whether you're on a horse or you take the Cloak of the Dunes, or you just sit just out of range and then you join a unit, and you can do some shenanigans where you join the unit, go to the front rank so you can get some distance there. You can then basically get this benefit, and they've not been able to unbind it. It's fairly easy to cast it. If you're level 3 or 4, it's pretty much going to go off unless you double one you cast. And it's pretty powerful. I think that's good. I would be going that. This one as well is good. This would be the second one I have. This is probably the last choice, just because I think you can only take one per wizard, and I think once you get down to more than 2 wizards, you probably don't have that many characters, or you've got other things you want to do on that from the common laws. But yeah, that's cool. And then we've got magic items. So I'll talk about these now because, in fact, I'll probably come back to these when I talk about the characters. Okay, so let's talk about the composition of the Grand Army list. So the Grand Army list, this is your normal, quote-unquote, Tomb King army. So you can have up to 50% on characters. You must have a Tomb King or Prince. You must have a High Priest or a Mortuary Priest. You can have 0 to 1 Tomb King or High Priest per 1,000. So in a 2,000 point game, you can have a King and a High Priest. You can have as many Mortuary and Tomb Princes as you want, but you've got to have one of each at least. You can have as many Royal Heralds and Necrotects as you want, up to 50% of your army. Core, at least 25% of your army's value must be spent on one or more unit of skeleton warriors and or skeleton archers. So you've got to have a unit of skeletons or archers. I would be leaning archers just because I think they're great. Then you've got skeleton skirmishers, tomb swarms, skeleton horsemen, skeleton horse archers, which I think are great, and chariots, which I think are great. So those 3 I really like. Then you can have up to 1 unit of Tomb Guard or Stalkers, which is an interesting one. Tomb Guard, if you want an anvil, they're going to be a lot more effective than normal skeletons, but they are a lot more expensive. So that's the trade-off. Special, Tomb Guard, Ushabti, Spectral Stalkers, Carrion, and Necropolis Knights. 0 to 3 Tomb Scorpions per 1,000 points. Tomb Scorpions are baller. They are amazing. 0 to 2 Khemrian Warsphinx, doesn't include character mounts, per 1,000. Not sure about the Warsphinx, I'll look at that in more detail when we get there. Rare, Necrolith Colossus or Necrosphinx. I really like the Necrosphinx. 0 to 2 Casket of Screaming Skull Catapults per 1,000. Now this is interesting. 0 to 1 Casket of Souls per 1,000 points. You can have 2 of them in 2,000 points. Casket of Souls are great. They are great. That's what I'm going to say. Mercs, allies, we won't worry about that. You might take some Army of Infamy allies, but we're just going to concentrate on the main factions for now. This is a Battle Standard Bearers, 25 points. In addition to their usual points to spend on magic items, they can purchase a magic banner, so that's kind of normal. Then we go into the Monarchs. So the Monarchs are your kings and princes. Now, generally, your king has got 4 wounds, your prince has got 3 wounds. Normally heroes would have 2 and 3 here, so they always used to have better wounds. They are tough 5, which is good. Base strength for the king is 5, prince is 4. I think these are basically the same stat lines they've always had. Weapon skill 6, 5, 10, initiative 4, initiative 3. They're on 25 by 25s. Now, you can take, hand weapon, a flail, a great weapon, a halberd, cavalry spear if you're mounted. May take a shield, may be mounted. See page 131. Tomb King can have magic items of 100. Tomb Prince can have up to 50. So that's at your Lord level, hero level. They've got the Cursed Necropolis, Dry as Dust. They are flammable, Indomitable 2. Khopesh, My Will Be Done, which is explained here. Nehekharan, Undead, and Regeneration. And we know that, for example, because they're flammable, that means that their regen save gets negated by flaming attacks. And Dry as Dust means that if they get hit by flaming attacks, then they could take extra damage. So, that's flaming attacks are bad. So you've got My Will Be Done. During the command sub-phase, can exert their will by making leadership tests using their own leadership. I mean, leadership 10 on a king is pretty good. If you pass it, until the start of your turn sub-phase, so your next turn basically, the character, mount, and any unit they've joined gain a modifier to a maximum of 10 to one of their stats. So it's either plus D3 move, plus 1 weapon skill, or plus D3 initiative. And it does say it's not cumulative. In other words, using it more than once on the same unit does no further effect. So I don't know if that means the sub bit is, or if you had 2 My Will Be Done's, could you get plus D3 movement and plus D3 initiative? The way it reads to me is that gain a mod. I think they can only get one of these. Yeah, I think you can only get one. So movement is obviously pretty important. I think weapon skill could be okay. I'm not sure about initiative. It does say strike like the Cobra, so I'm just thinking of dodgeball. But I don't know. D3 initiative, is it going to make much difference? It might do. It might mean you go first. It depends on the fight. It depends if you what's going on. But yeah, something to bear in mind. Just a nice little boost. Yeah. So if we go back to, obviously you've got to take one. I would generally try and take a king if you can afford it. I do think some of the mounts are really important in this edition of Warhammer. So, like previously, you're thinking, oh, well, I'll just take my guy on foot and put him in the unit. But now I'm thinking you pretty much want to mount everything. Because you're doubling your wounds, and with the healing mechanic, that just makes your characters a lot harder to kill, particularly chariots, so they can join units anyway. So I think, you know, kings and battle standards on chariots in a chariot block are going to be very popular. I used to always run mine on foot in the Tomb Guard, but I'm not sure about that anymore. We'll see. Time will tell. So Royal Heralds, these are your battle standard bearers, basically. I mean, they're just like, he's not actually a battle standard bearer unless you pay the points for it. But he does have, it's quite strange because he has the Banner of the King special rule. So it says a Royal Herald that has been upgraded to be a battle standard, replacing his Hold Your Ground with this version, which is friendly units within the battle standard command range may reroll failed leadership tests. Now, what's good about that is a leadership test is your heal. That's your, like, it came from below. That's your My Will Be Done. They're all leadership tests, so you can reroll those. So that's really strong. So I think you're going to want a battle standard. In addition, friendly units within the battle standard rule reduce the number of wounds loose to a stable by D3. It does say it's not cumulative with Indomitable, which is a bit of a shame. I think if it would have been very good, though. And it does say, should a monarch of Nehekharan suffer a hit whilst within 3 inches of the model, you may choose to transfer the hit and all of its effects onto this model. So you can protect, and you don't even need to be in the same unit. So if you've got like a unit of chariots with a banner, BSP on a chariot in it, I'm sure you can mount them in a chariot. Yeah, maybe mounted. I'll look at that in a minute, but I'm pretty sure you could put them in chariot. So you could have your guy on the Necropolis Bone Dragon next to him, and then if they hit him with a monstrous killing blow, you could transfer that hit to this guy, and then that doesn't actually work on the chariot. So it's quite powerful, because you can basically protect your Bone Dragon from being killing blowed with this, as long as you position it correctly. You know, you charge the same target, you know, they go in together, or you put them next to each other, or you charge and you march up to be within 3 but not in combat. You could get there, not march, sorry, move, and then I think they can reserve move as well. So that's quite important. I think that might be overlooked, but it's actually quite strong. Then, you know, you've got here their weapon skill 4, strength 4, 2 wounds, 3 attacks. They're not exactly very strong. They got some options of weapons, and they do have Indomitable 1 as well, and a regen save of 5 up. So I would have thought they would have had Cleaving Blow, actually, but they don't have it, so it's interesting. Liche Priests, these are going to be your bread and butter, or hero-wise. You need a lot of these. I would probably be running at least 3 in an army, unless you're playing the Settra list. Even then, you can still take Mortuary Priests, the lower level ones. So their stat line, obviously, they're wizards, nothing to write home about. A High Priest is level 3, 140 points. They do seem a lot cheaper than they used to be. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, even the skeletons seem cheaper. I don't know if it's just, I can't remember what they were. I'm sure they were like more expensive than this, but anyway. And they know Elementalism, Illusion, and Necromancy. So let's just talk about the laws that you can take quickly. Obviously, the signature, you're probably not taking this. Dwellers Below is an assailment. You don't want to be in combat, so we just ignore it. So you've got Deathly Cabal on 10, which is self. Enchantment gives you a 6-up ward against non-magical. And you cause terror if you always cause fear. So that's actually pretty good. It is on a 10+. It's more a level 4 spell. Unquiet Spirits, magic missile. No armor saves permitted. Again, it's 3d6 strength 2. It's 15-inch range. That's all right. That's pretty good. You've got this Spiritual Vortex. It's a 5-inch blast. It doesn't move. It's treated as dangerous. Enemy units take -1 to their leadership and cannot use the Inspiring Presence. So that's pretty good. You want people to fail their fear or terror tests. They can't. It's dangerous terrain as well. So it's very good defensive. Blung it in front of your archer block or whatever. Stops them sort of the enemy charging at you so willy-nilly. Curse of the Years, personal favourite of mine. It is a -1 to movement, weapon skill, and toughness. So again, that's pretty good. I used to love it in the day when you rolled a dice on a 6, they take a win, then a 5, then a 4, then a 3. Used to love that. Spectral Steed is conveyance. Can only take characters, troops with infantry, and it gives them ethereal and fly special rules. Quite an interesting one, because you can't join units if you've got the fly special rule. So I don't know what happens if you're in a unit and you cast this. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have to leave, or you say, I don't know. But anyway, ethereal and fly. I mean, it's okay, but it's a spell. It remains in place. They can get rid of it. I'm not really a big fan of this one. You don't really want to risk your character not being able to move fast if they dispel it or get rid of it. Then you've got Spirit Leech. It's a hex, 18-inch range. It's -2 to leadership. Cannot use Inspire. So this is really good. So Spirit Leech is really good because you just want people to break from combats. So and what's nice about this, because it's a -2 to leadership characteristic, they're more likely to break and flee rather than fall back in good order. So I think this is a very powerful spell. I would say that any leadership debuffs, and it will stack with this, because this is just if you're within range of this, and this is on the unit itself. So you could have both of these in effect on a unit. That's -3 to their leadership, and then you can't. And then if you've got this spell on the unit that you're in, then maybe you declare a charge. You won't have this up because it's a shooting phase, but you will have this up. You cause terror, they fail the test, they run away if you outnumber them. So there's some very strong combos in here. And again, like, there's enough in here going on that they're useful. So Necromancy would be probably quite a popular pick for your Liche Priests. What else can I take? Illusion was the other one, wasn't it? Can't take Battle, can't take Demology, can't take Dark. Elementalism, was that the one they can take? Let's have a look. Yes. So Storm Call, again, probably not looking at this because you're going to be taking the signatures from your Nehekharan lore. Flaming Sword as Assailment, you're not really going to be in combat. Don't want to be using this. Plague of Russ, we've talked about. It's a -2 to the armor value. It's really good. You might just take, just to hope you roll that, or take the artifacts so you can pick it. because again, if they're -2 to their armor save, it's a range of 21, which is really far. It's only cast on a 9, but maybe you want that in play. You know, so you take Elementalism just because you're like, well, I want this spell so badly. If you then power in loads of strength 3 shooting, that's like loads of shooting into that target. You're probably going to do a heck of a lot of damage because the -2 to armor save is pretty big. Yeah, so then you've got the Elemental Spirit, which is a vortex. Again, it's no line of sight, moves d6 and a random. It takes do some damage. Okay, fine. Not really loving that one. This one's really good. 5-up ward, and you count as being behind a low linear obstacle if charged. The unit cannot march or charge. You can't march anyway. So really, this is pretty decent. You know that will actually do quite a lot for your army in terms of defense. Yeah, I like that spell a lot. Wind Blast. It's some some strength 5, AP -1, and they must give the ground. You can push them back. That's okay. And you've got a Conveyance. You can immediately remove a unit from the battlefield, place it anywhere within 12 as original location. That's awesome for your army. Like being able to pick up like your bowman bunker and put it 12 inches like in a completely different place. That's huge. You can literally, it's like a get out of jail free. It's like an escape. It's for an entire unit. You can also use it to be aggressive. Move a unit of spearmen to the flank, ready for next turn. That's amazing. So actually, I think Elementalism is pretty good. Like my level 4 might be tempted with this one. I think because you're going to take a Nehekharan spell anyway. Then you go, okay, so I've got Plague of Rust, I've got Travel the Mystical Pathway, Wind Blast, Earthen Ramparts, all really good. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's a law you will see used on a Liche Priest. Then we have Illusion. So again, Glittering Robe. That's not too bad. You might take that over if you're into a third wizard. You might take this because -1 to hit rolls against the caster unit they've joined. So that one's pretty good if you're facing a lot of shooting. Again, I'm not sold. Mind Razor is a magic missile, which is okay. You've got the Shimmering Dragon, which Conveyance, and it gains Fly special rule 10, so a character, so friendly characters, but yeah, it doesn't. It's okay, but again, it doesn't really do a lot for you, I don't think. Yeah, it's in the remaining moves as well, so you can't use it as charge. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. Column of Crystal, again, this remains in play on a 10. It's an impassable piece of terrain which blocks line of sight. Could be quite useful if you're trying to stop cannonballs. I don't know. I mean, it remains in play though. I mean, they do have to get in range of the wizard to get rid of it, not the spell. So you could have a bunker unit and you want to protect your character in the bunker from being shot at with cannons. You block that down, but your bunker's probably going to be bowman. You don't really want to block line of sight to your own stuff. It's a big old template. You could also drop that, because it's in the shooting phase, you could drop that in front of one of their units and just make sure the wizard who cast it isn't within range of any of theirs, then they can't unbind it. So it's okay. It's on a 10. It's quite hard to get rid of it, but it's also quite hard to cast, conversely. You're probably going to need level 4 wizard to get this off reliably. Do you want your level 4 taking this one? Not sure. You've got Confounding Convocation. So this is a hex that reigns in play. It's a short range. They get Stupidity. Again, like, it remains in play. It didn't really do a lot if they're already in combat, and it's only a range of 9. So I don't think that one's very good either, because it's got to be done at the start of your turn because it's a hex. So it's in the strategy phase. Spectral Doppelganger is a settlement, so it's in combat. They take 2d6 hits using the characteristics and special rules of the caster and any weapon they carry. obviously not very good for a Liche Priest. There is a magic item that is pretty good for a Mortuary Priest, so that might be good with him, but I'll look at that later. Then you've got Miasmic Mirage. It's against a Hex, range 15. This is quite powerful. Just stopping a unit charging. You know, if you've got like that unkillable dragon, Chaos Lord, that I wrote and people got upset about, you stop him charging for a turn, he's not doing anything. Like, that's a whole turn. He's not fighting, charging. It's only range 15, but charges are quite short. You know, like even at fly 10, your max charge range is 16, because it's your movement plus 6. If you've got Swift Stride, so you and if you really want to be at max range, you're probably not going to get the charge. So I quite like this spell. It's situational, but it's pretty powerful. I would say that also it's 11 plus. You probably, if you're taking Illusion, you probably want to get some bonus to cast on your wizard, whether you take a Power Stone or something like that. Obviously that does shut off other arcane items, but yeah, I think there's some situationally amazing stuff in here, but again, it's situational. Whereas I think if you're building a more all-rounder list, there's more useful spells in the other laws. But that doesn't mean you should overlook this law. And I think after a few games, you might find that it's better to have these clutch spells in your back pocket, and use your liches for healing and getting other bonuses that you're not really worried if they don't cast a spell, because the spells are like a Brucey bonus. But if that Brucey bonus is stopping that Death Bus of Grail Knights charging, or, you know, putting a big impassable piece of terrain in front of something, or stopping cannonballs killing your Hierophant, that's worth it. You know, it's just worth the effort. So again, this whole thing is I'm not sure, but could be really good in certain situations. Bit of a tangent, sorry, that's the magic laws they have access to. So again, you can upgrade to level 4 or level 2. You've got Arise, and this is the rule that I'm going to talk about in quite some depth in a minute. Curse, Necropolis, Indomitable, Khopesh, Law of Nehekhara, Nekharian Undead, Regeneration, and From Beneath the Sand. So these 2 special rules are what make Liche Priests pretty essential. Obviously you need a Hierophant as well. So Arise is during the command subphase. If you're not in combat, which is important, that's why you don't want to be in combat, this character can resurrect the fallen. You take a leadership test using your own leadership, so that's on an 8 or a 7. Again, your battle standard will let you re-roll this. If the test is passed, a single friendly unit that has the Nehekharan Undead special within 12 recovers a number of lost wounds. However, repairing big constructs is a lot harder, therefore how many wounds depends on unit troop type and your wizard level. So if the unit troop type is regular infantry, heavy infantry, or swarm, it takes a number of wounds equal to the character's level of wizardry plus D3. So level 4 is guaranteed to get 5 models back, which is pretty strong. If the unit troop type is light cavalry, heavy cavalry, or war beast, it is number of wizard level plus 1. Monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, or light chariot is just your wizard level. Obviously, that means that healing characters or bringing chariots back is a little bit harder, but again, it's still pretty good. 2 to 3 or 4 wounds, it's still decent. So if the unit troop type is heavy chariot, monstrous creature, behemoth, war machine, it gets a single wound. So obviously that means that a lot of your constructs and things only get 1 wound back per Arise. This is why I think it's important to have multiple liches. I think you probably want 3 minimum, maybe even more. I mean, they're that important. I think even a level 1 Mortuary Priest at 55 points is still a wizard. It gives you access to a spell. You can take signatures that are low cast, and then you'll just go in. He's just there for Arise. You're just trying to heal. And that's cool. It will be worth noting that we have this beneath. I'll talk about the Hierophant in a second. So we've got From Beneath the Sand. So this says during the command subphase, if you're not engaged in combat, you can choose a single friendly unit that has both Nehekharan Undead and the Ambush special rule that is held in reserve, and attempt to summon it by making a leadership test. Again, using your own leadership, rerollable with a battle standard. So if the test is passed, a chosen unit successfully summoned and placed on the battlefield completely within 12 of this model, not within 6 of any enemy models. Unit cannot charge, counts having moved for purposes of shooting, can never act as normal. So why would you do this? So there are Stalkers that can come up and they have a shooting attack, so that's useful. And then obviously they're set up for a charge in the flank or rear if you're already engaged. The other thing you can do with this is use it to put a speed bump out. So you can put a unit of Tomb Swarms up and basically block their charge. So it's an effective way of putting a unit where you want it. I know you got can't be within 6, but you're trying to be a speed bump. You're not trying to do much else. It's a nice thing to have in your back pocket if you're like, oh, sugar, my bunker with my Lich is now going to get charged. I can suddenly bring my Tomb Swarms as a blocker. That gives you a turn to get out of dodge. So like it's kind of like you can keep that in your back pocket. What would be probably, it says if you fail it, then the ambushes don't come on. But what's quite funny about ambushes is that you get to start the turn on a 4-up naturally and come on using the normal ambush rules, or you can not roll and just go, I'm going to use this rule. So then you've got the choice. But if you want that unit on really badly and you fail the roll, this is another chance to get them on. So it's like it's kind of 6 and 1 half does another, but it's like it gives you an extra chance to bring it on. But I think the most useful case of using this rule is to bring swarms up as a blocker to stop your Hierophant bunker getting charged. That's probably why I would take unit Tomb Swarms in my army. They're core as well, and that's just good practice. They also are quite good War Machine hunters because they're you can bring them on from a table edge. So if you do normal ambushing and someone's got War Machines, they're having a couple units of Tomb Swarms in your back pocket. They're not expensive and they're good for that. Or you can even do it with Stalkers if you want to, have a bit more beefy unit. They obviously can be core as well. So there you go. So the Hierophant, your army must have Hierophant. So it says you must include at least a Lich. If you have several Liches, then the Hierophant will be the one with the highest level of wizardry. If you've got the same, you pick one. If you lose your Hierophant, this is pretty big. This generally leads to you losing the game in the old edition. I'm not sure, but probably is that big here as well. Because not only do you lose your regeneration save on your entire army, you also have to take a leadership test, and that's at the end of the phase that your Hierophant was removed and during the start of your turn for the remainder of the game. So, for example, if your Hierophant's destroyed during your opponent's shooting phase, at the end of the phase, Skeleton Warriors Leadership 5, take a leadership to roll 7, that used 2 wounds. The same unit makes another leadership test, if you roll 6, loses another wound. I can tell you from experience, the amount of damage this does to your army is pretty catastrophic. Your Hierophant needs to be alive. He is so important. You need to protect that character. There are ways to do it. Like I said, that's why I quite like having in your back pocket a speed bumper swarms, because you're probably going to need it at some point to protect him. There are more ways to protect characters from shooting and things in this edition, like not being targetable if you're within 3 of a unit. You've got to be a little bit careful they don't shoot the unit down and then target you, so you might want to have 2 units within 3 of that are, and you're not the closest, because you could literally have like 2 units of bowmen like that and him in the middle. If you give him Cloak of the Dunes, he can fly, so he can march and stay around the units he needs to be around, and obviously it's quite, that's why I think illusion magic is quite strong, because it gives you some tools to really protect your Hierophant as well. So it might be the case that you go illusion just for the protection it brings, because if your Hierophant dies, it's really bad news. It's bad news, really bad. Don't want him dying ever. If you're playing against Tomb Kings, conversely, you want to kill the Hierophant, because you kill the Hierophant, it's just absolutely devastating. So obviously you're losing that big heal as well, you're losing your regen save on the whole army, plus your stuff just starts taking damage naturally. Your leadership value is not very good. Obviously if your King's alive, you do have a command aura, that does help, because your leadership 10 then, so you're not too worried. I'll just say that it's pretty big. So that's one of the things with Tomb Kings you got to be really careful of. So obviously way to protect your hero is important. Anyway, that's kind of an aside note, but I'll just say that it is something to really bear in mind when you write your army list. How are you going to protect your Hierophant? Because you need to think about that. You need to have redundancy as well. Don't have one bunker, have 2 or 3 bunkers, because one bunker gets killed by shooting and you're like, oh crap, where have I got to hide now? I can't, I don't want to be in combat, can't use my heal, can't use my, it came from below, I don't want to be getting hit, I don't want to die. And you might protect him by putting him on a bone dragon and saying, well, he's got loads of wounds, go on then, you know, kill him. He's got higher toughness, he's got a better armor save. I can give him a ward save, you know, try and kill him. He can heal. So heal a wound a turn. If you've got multiple liches, you might better put 3 or 4 wounds back on him a turn. You take the -1 to hit from the bone dragon, give him another artifact, give him another -6 to hit, whatever. But anyway, you've just got to think about how you're going to protect your Hierophant, and part of your list design is going to be, how does my Hierophant survive the game? Where does he go? What unit is he at? It's so important. You really need to dedicate a lot of energy and time and points in your list to this one purpose role in your army. And there are other ways to protect him in terms of, then you need to think, how am I going to get the units that want to get to him? So this is kind of the other thing about the Hierophant. He does act as like a big bit of bait. So you can really, like, if you wanted to charge something or get into your army, your Hierophant's like a juicy cherry they want. So you can basically keep him around where you want them to go, because they really want to kill that guy. He's key. And if you play against 6 cannons, yeah, good luck. Like, that's just harsh. That's why I think having a monster that can basically catch cannonballs for you and you can heal is important as well. Obviously, there's the FAQ that says you can't target characters outside of units unless you land directly on them. That's still a 1 in 6 chance, so you don't really want that. But again, it's better than it's sort of the same odds as Lookout, so really. So I don't know. It's probably a bit worse because it's only a 1 dice roll, whereas if you're in a unit, it's multiple rolls, so it's a bit more protection if you're in a unit. Yeah. So anyway, it's a bit of a tangent, but just say Hierophant is key. You must protect that model. Then we have the Necrotect, which I think is really cool. So he's at 55 points. You can have magic items up to 50. This guy's good because he's got this Eternal Taskmaster rule. And what this does is that you can drive a unit by taking a leadership test. Again, reroll from the BSB. So that's why I think the BSB is like essential. If you pass it, this character, any unit they join, gains extra attack +1 and hatred. So extra attacks +1 is kind of crazy, and the fact that obviously you can't mount him, so he's infantry, right? So he's only really going to be in a unit of like infantry, but getting rerolls is kind of good. You like a block of Tomb Guard. He's not that hard to kill, so maybe it's not amazing, but I don't know. I think he's cool. I think you might see him. I think the Arch Necrotect's a lot better in the Mortuary cult list, so you might see him. He could be a good ally as well. But yeah, it's a cool model. I hope they release him. I haven't really seen any. I've luckily I've actually got mine because in AOS he was good, so I rebased him and I've actually got one, so I've still got that model. He's on a round, but yeah, I'm quite glad I've still got my Necrotect. Yeah, I think he's cool. I'd like to see him release a new model or re-release that model, because I'm a bit surprised at the moment you can't get a lot of the models. It's kind of a bit annoying. I really want my casket. I really want 2 caskets, if I'm honest. Anyway, yes, he's alright. I don't think you'll see many of him, but I think he's pretty cool. He's cheap, he's a cheap hero. Then you've got character mounts. So this is quite important. I think in Old World, like, character mounts with combined wounds and toughness and stuff is kind of the best way to protect your characters, or being on foot and having units that you hide around. I can't really see past this much. So a High Priest can only have a steed or a bone dragon, so you can't put them on chariots. The bone dragon's a weird one. I actually think it's not a bad option for your Hierophant to be on the bone dragon, because it's actually got hard to hurt. It's quite fast. Because it flies, he can march with that, and you can keep him out of harm's way. And it's got a breath weapon, so he can still do damage. He can still do his spells. In a pinch, he can charge. You can load him up with some defensive gear. So I think it's an awful option, honestly, because you're getting so many more wounds, toughness, and a better armor save. It's like, you know, it may be a viable way of protecting your High Priest. The Herald, I think you probably want him on a chariot at all times. The other way because you just get them more wounds really, and you know he becomes super good. So you think that kind of makes you have to have a unit of chariots to put these characters in. Even then, like the king on a chariot is very strong. So if you're taking like your Hierophant on a bone dragon, I mean, when I get to the bone dragon, I'll talk about it in more detail because it's later on the profile, but I'm just talking abstractly at the moment. Is that the bone dragon for the Tomb King is also a good option, but it's then what do you do with your Hierophant? So I think you either put your Hierophant on a bone dragon, or he's operating around on foot with Cloak of the Dunes, probably, or in a bunker on a horse is the other option. The being on a horse does give you Vanguard, just generally, because the Skeletal Steed has the Vanguard rule. So that does give you a pre-game move, which could be useful. It could be useful to get into Unbind range. Like if you've got a level 2 wizard and you want to get him into Unbind range of 18, you could use that to do that. I mean, it's a bit risky, but it could be pretty clutch if they've got an essential spell they want to get off. Again, it's not guaranteed to stop it, but you do have Fated Dispel anyway. So the chariot, you get an extra 3 wounds, increases your toughness to 4 on like, if you didn't have toughness 4, but I think they're all tough 4 or 5, so you'd use the highest. It's got a 5 up armor save. So it has reserve move as well, so it can move in the shooting phase. I actually quite like Skeletal Chariots as a mount. It gives you 360 line of sight as well, which is another thing to work about. It only really affects the shooting. But if you took like Ruby Ring on a Herald on a chariot, he would be able to do that 360 because it's a magic missile. So it's very decent. I mean, I don't know how often you'll see that, but there you go. But essentially, I think most characters are going to be in chariots. I mean, having kings and princes on foot, unless you're buffing a unit and you want them in the unit to buff it, I don't think you'll see many foot heroes. Hierophant, I think you've got 2 options really, and I think the Bone Dragon I think is actually quite a good option, but you're probably going to be on foot with the Cloak of the Dunes, to be honest, or just on foot, or on a steed, because steeds can join units and can't be picked out. So if you want the extra movement, if you don't take the cloak, you're probably going to put them on a horse. So anyway, it's those kind of things. Now, I'm not talking about the Warsphinx. The Warsphinx, I'll get onto. I think that's a decent option as well, but obviously you've only got half your points on characters, and characters are quite important in undead armies, so we'll see. But so obviously you've got your mounts there, and 35 points for a chariot, it's not expensive to give your hero an extra 3 wounds. I mean, it's pretty good, and you can still protect them because you can have a big unit of chariots and they still join it. So it's not like you're going to be on your own now because you're in a chariot. You can actually still join units, so you just have to take some chariot units. So let's get on to some of the normal profiles then. So we've got Tomb Guard. Now, I love Tomb Guard. These are like one of my favourite things. I don't know why, I just really like the aesthetic. There's a really cool picture where there's 2 of them outside a tomb and they're like cutting a guy up. They used to Killing Blow back in the day. These are like your white, your black knight type guys. Grave Guard, that's the word I'm looking for, on foot. And these really, they've got the benefit of being tough 4 with a higher weapon skill. It's only weapon skill 3, granted. They also have a better leadership in case you have to crumble. They actually have Cleaving Blow, which is quite nice. They've got Close Armor. They've got Indomitable 1 as standard as well. They have the Khopesh rule, so that's like a -1. So you don't really need to give them halberds, because as soon as you take halberds, you lose the Khopesh. And you can't use the shield. I just don't see you taking halberds. If the halberd, you could have a shield as well, like you could use them both at the same time, it would be pretty good. And they've got Nehekharan Undead Regen, and they're a regimental unit. Now, regimental unit means you can have detachments, which is quite cool, because that means you can do stuff like counter charge and stand and shoot. So you could have quite a decent block. And if you're taking Tomb Guard, and you could put a Necrotect in there for the hatred and the +1 attack. They've only got 1 attack each, but they're okay. And you can obviously put a banner on for 50 points. Your team captain can have magic items up to 25. You can 0 to 1 unit. They can be battle line as well, or core. So they're a core unit, which means that you're getting an elite unit and you're using up your core allowance. And I think they're quite a good anvil unit. If you've watched my Arminus show, you know what I mean by that, but something that can hold a charge. Obviously, a numerous unit of skeletons is the same thing, really, an undead, because you don't care about taking a break test because you don't take them. You just want to have enough wounds that you can survive a charge and not be destroyed. And these guys are easy to heal as well because they're infantry. So, you're getting D3 plus 4 back from your level 4 if you do a rise on them. You can multiple a rise on a unit as well. So a big unit of Tomb Guard could be a really tough block to shift. They make a really good defensive bulwark that you can hide your stuff around and behind to stop people getting into your shooting and your squishy casters. So I still think they've got a really good place in the list. I don't think they're terrible at all. You can give them the phalanx rule, which means that they don't give ground. So that could be quite useful because you don't really want that block moving. It's only 1 point on models, so we're looking at like 20 to 30 points depending on how many models you've got in the unit. I don't think I'd take less than 20 in a unit, purely because you just want the wounds for the buffer for when you get hit hard. You don't just crumble. The more bodies, the harder it is to get rid of the unit. The more, the better it is at being an anvil, the better it is at protecting its points. The more likely it is to outnumber or not be outnumbered 2 to 1 for the pushback. Drilled is also very good because in an army that's slow, being able to do a reform, a readdress ranks for free is also quite strong. Obviously, marching column does nothing for you, so you're better off being wide and deep than you are being narrow and deep because you don't get any benefit. You just lose all your rank bonus, so you want to be a bit careful not to be in that situation. But I Tomb Guard, I love them. 10 points a model is quite cheap, and they come with light armor and shields, so you don't give them anything. So like 20 of them is 200 points. Then you're going to take probably a full command 218. And that's dirt cheap. There's the artwork I was talking about at the bottom there, ironically. So these standards, I'll just talk about them because we've sort of gone past and I've done the characters, so I'll go through the magic items now because it's probably a good thing to do. So, okay, so we've got weapons. We've got Destroyer of Eternities. It's 75 points. It's going to be on a king only. It gives you +2 strength, -2 armor pierce, and it's killing blow, magical. It gives you strike last and requires 2 hands. And you can make a special scything attack. So they take D6 automatic hits, which used to be like models in base. So like now this is kind of, do you roll to hit or do you just take D6 hits? I mean, it automatically hits. So it's like, maybe. It does make you strike last. It's a lot of points. Killing blows okay, but I'm not sure. Destroy used to be an item I used to always take. I used to love it. But I'm not sure you'll see it much. It's okay. It's expensive though. I'm not sure you want. Why would you not take like a mundane great weapon? I don't know if you want the killing attack, the killing blow that much. Really, it doesn't do an awful lot against monstrous heroes. It does killing blow like normal infantry and stuff. Maybe it's useful. Maybe I don't know. But 75 points is steep for that, to be honest. It does get around some stuff that affect your hit roll, so maybe the fact that just getting D6 automatic is better. I wish it had like multi wounds on it as well or something. Just it's for 75 points, it seems a bit lackluster. You've got the Crook and Flail of Radiance, so this gives you +D3 extra attacks. You're getting -1 AP, but if you've got a Kopesh, you're getting that anyway. It gives you magical attacks. So it needs 2 hands. It does give you strike first. It says Monarchs of Nehekhara only, so it's only kings and princes. Strike first, yeah, sure. It's okay. But it does require 2 hands, so you're not getting your shield bonus. Flail of Skulls used to be kind of a favourite. It's +3 strength, -1 AP. It's magical. It's got multiple wounds too. And requires 2 hands, so I quite like the flail. I think that's decent on a chariot prince or something like that, so that's not too bad at all. You've got a Liche Priest only staff, which is +2 strength, -2 AP, poisoned, requires 2 hands. Again, that might be if you took that spell, which gives you like 2d6 attack hits on the profile. I think it's 2d6 hits. might be okay, but again, like your wizards in combat, don't really want that happening. Can't use your rise, can't use your it came from below. You're going to get killed probably. Are you going to buy a magic weapon for your Lich and put him in combat? I don't think so. So I mean, you'll see that. Armor of the Ages used to be, I think it used to be 35 points. It was heavy armor in the day as well. It's re-roll successful wound rolls against the wearer. That is really good. Like, your toughness is high, especially if you're on a Bone Dragon or, you know, even a Sphinx. Like, having to re-roll successful wound rolls is like pretty good, because most stuff doesn't have very high strength. So if you're at toughness 6 or 7, I think a king on a Sphinx is tough 6. You're going to be winning on 4s. Having to re-roll that's pretty good. I mean, that's gonna really increase your survivability. So that's a decent item. You've got the Shield of Petra. It's a shield, which is clues in the name. In addition, enemy model can direct their attacks against the bearer, so there's -1 to their weapon skill. So it's not as good as -1 to hit. It's quite cheap for 25 points. -1 weapon skill, it's like it's going to make a difference sometimes. It's a little bit confusing because how long does that modifier last? Is that permanent? Is that just when they attack you, and then when you attack them they're back to normal? Or so if it only makes a difference when they hit you, which is what I think is the case, it's pretty rubbish. They could probably just change that to -1 to hit, to be honest. It's be much more useful. You've got the Crown of Kings, and this is a very common item, so you can multiply this. It says a Monarch of Nehekhara only, so this is only for princes and kings. It says during the command subphase, they can resurrect fallen warriors by taking a leadership test, and it says they can do skeleton warriors, archers, horsemen, horse archers, D3 +1 wounds. Now that is really good because you're just getting extra healing. I think horse archers are very strong as well as chariot runners, and if your prince is in a chariot and he's near, or your king's in a chariot and you've got chariot runners nearby, they're going to be in range. And again, it's like their command range. So if your king, his command range is 12, that's quite a long way. He's got leadership 10 as well, so he's very likely to succeed. So I think the Crown of Kings is great, and you can have more than one. So you might see this on every prince and king as a way of getting extra heals without buying and having good combat characters. So you're getting two for one, really. It does use up 30 points to your allowance, but again, very strong, in my opinion. That's a good item. So Collar of Shapesh is single use. When the collar of Shapesh loses the wearer uses their last wound, roll a d6 on a 4+. You don't lose the wound, and a single friendly model is removed from player's casualty. Now, there is a little bit of how does wound allocation work? Like, do you allocate, say you've taken 10 wounds and you've got 4 left, do you ignore the 5th wound and then the 6th wound kills you anyway? Or do you just ignore all of that damage on a 4+, you come back with 1 wound? I don't know. I imagine it's probably the first one, in which case it's not very good. If it's the second one, then it's pretty decent. I mean, it's still a 4+, so it's not very likely. It's like 50-50, but 50-50 to keep your king alive. You might take that. You can also put that on a Hierophant, so that would be probably worth doing to keep him alive, especially if this is the second way, because yeah, that would gut if you just lost your Hierophant to the wound and you're thinking, oh, if only I could have survived. You got magic standard, so Cursing Word is only for the battle standard. I mean, you only can take it anyway. At the end of any phase, basically say, end of any phase in which one or more models in a unit joined by it lost a wound, the unit that made the attack must take a leadership test. If it's failed, they take D3 strength 2 hits with an AP of nothing for each model that lost its last wound. Which sounds a bit crap, but if they go in and murk like 10 skeletons, that's 10 D3 strength 2. So 80 points. It's like the curse. If it had AP on it, or you couldn't take armor saves, it'd be really good. But the fact it's like they've got a fair leadership test, and then you've got to roll to wound, and it's only strength 2, and it's a random number. I don't think it's that good. There's a lot of points. I think you're just better off taking like the Razor Standard or, you know, War Banner or something else. You know, just take one of the common ones or something else. You got Icon of the Sacred Eye that gives you +1 modifier to your weapon skill. Again, that could be quite good. Increasing your weapon skill from like 3 to 4 on Tomb Guard is quite a big deal, because that means they're not hitting you on 3s with their elite infantry. Generally, they'll be hitting you on 4s. That's a huge reduction in damage coming your way. Also means you're going to be able to churn through weaker stuff easier. And the good thing about having extra weapon skill is you can combine that with the My Will Be Done worthy champions, get an extra +1. So you could be weapon skill 5 Tomb Guard, which brings them into line with most elite infantry in the game, which means they're going to be hitting you on 4s. You're going to be hitting most things on a 3. I quite like that. I think that's quite good. This item I used to always take. It was 25 points, if I remember correctly, and you could do a reform, but you could do it before you declared charges, and you caught so many people out with this. Obviously, they've changed that, and it's 40 points now. But it basically says you may perform a single free reform at any point in your movement. That is still amazing. Like, it's not, the thing is, it's not limited to infantry. So I believe chariots can take 50 points. You could literally, and I think they get a move in the shooting phase. So that's pretty crazy, because you could end up like getting 2 reforms. So with making a reserve move, you can use any maneuver as normal. You can't march, but you can't march anyway. So that might be really good on chariots. I will check what points chariots can use, but if they can use up to 50 points, that's one I'll be considering. Next one is also extremely good. Enemy model that targets unit carrying the Mirage banner during the shooting phase is an additional -1 to hit. Then we go on to enchanted items. So you got the Cloak of the Dunes, which I think is really solid, because it allows you to march with your Hierophant. You can only have it on infantry, gives you a fly inch of a 9, so it's an 18-inch move, and basically you can pivot for free, whatever. Any enemy unit that the wearer moves over during the remaining moves phase takes D6 strength 2 hits with an AP of -1. So you can even just fly over enemy units and do damage. And if you're not the closest target, then you can't be shot at, for example. And you've also got that evade rule. So you could have a really annoying hero with this that's just doing chip damage for the whole game, just flying around their army. Obviously, you need to have some way of putting units up. I don't know if you want it on your Hierophant, but it does make him very hard to catch. You can't join a unit once you've got this, because you've got the fly rule, and it says you can't join units if you've got the fly rule, unless they also have the fly rule, and most units don't have the fly rule, or you can't join them because you can't join like a Necrosphinx, for example. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I do like it. I think it's good. I don't know how often that damage will come into play, but yeah, it could be quite cool. You've got the Icon of Rulership. Now, this is a common one as well. And it says it's only for chariots. You double unit strength to 6, and any impact hits have armor pierce -2 and magic attacks. So that's good for chariots. As you're doing extra damage, you get extra unit strength, which is always useful. 35 points is steep though. If you're on like a Lord level, that takes up a lot of points. But if you're on a normal hero, you've got 15 points left, and there are a lot of good magic items. The Death Mask of Carnut, this is one of my favourite items, causes terror. Just gives you terror. That's so good. It's really good. Just having that and being able to charge and go like, well, take a terror test. I mean, like, you just make people break. It's just great. I don't know, just a fantastic item. I love the imagery of it as well. Like, the Death Mask is such a cool, iconic thing. Arcane items, you've got the Enkil's Canopy, or Canopy. So during the command subphase, if they're not in combat, the bearer may attempt to unleash its contents by taking a leadership test. If it's passed, all remains in play are dispelled. That's yours as well. So it just gets rid of all remains in play. I don't think it's that good. I think like you can just have 3 pops that get rid of it remains in play anyway. I don't know. If there's a nasty remains in play that's meta, that really screws you, maybe it's worth doing. Maybe it's worth having for 30 points on one wizard just in case. I don't know. You got the Hieratic Jar. This was always an auto pick because it gave you an extra incantation back in the day. Obviously, they don't work the same anymore, but it's common as well. So this is during the command subphase. If they're not in combat, you can release the power. You can attempt to resurrect the fallen twice. That is amazing. You want this, and it's common, so you can have multiples. Pretty much gonna want to spam this on your liches if you can. If you're not taking the other quirky items, which are like 40, 35 points, that's so good. Like I really like the Hieratic Jar, but there's a lot of good magic items that you can take on your liches. So Scarab Brooch, this is from when it's a bit blurred, a bit washed out. This, sorry about that. Because when using the Beneath the Sand special rule, a summoned unit can be placed within 18 rather than 12. So again, pretty good if you're trying to use that as aggressive to get to war machines and things like that. If you've got like a lich, you can do a vanguard move because he's on a horse, then you can pop this, drop the unit out. They can't charge, but they're there and they're close. And then, getting a unit of stalkers up in the back lines could be a real problem for someone to deal with. And if they're going to mop up all those war machines and juicy targets that are, in the back line, they're going to have to deal with it. They have to turn something around to get rid of it. And that could be clutch. So that's a good tactic. Like if a lot of war machines is really strong in the meta, being able to put up a unit on a flank in the backfield, which is gonna, be able to then threaten those units, and especially if it's a unit that's pretty pokey in combat, that they're not going to be able to ignore that unit, and you're getting an extra 6 inches, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it completely is. So it is a big deal because it's completely within 12 normally, so completely within 18, that's an extra 6 inches. That could mean the difference with getting out of someone's arc of sight and down the side. So yeah, and then obviously we've got the magic items from the Arcane Journal, which I also cover now, because some of these you can take, so they're worth considering. But the Blade of Antahak, which is +1 strength, -1 AP magical. You can only take it in Royal Host, but for each wound, the unit loses as a result of an attack made by the blade. The wielder immediately recovers a wound. That's right, exceptional. Having a way to heal for each wound you do, plus getting +1 strength and AP, that's really good. I think that'll add up, whether you're on a chariot or, you're using it on a Bone Dragon mount king. That's pretty decent. Obviously, it's only Royal Host, but I like that a lot. Conqueror's Blade. So this one is +2 strength, -2 AP, killing blow, magical, requires 2 strikes last. So really, this is kind of the same as Destroyer of Eternities, and there's 20 points less. It does say that when engaged in a channel, you also whilst engaged in a challenge, the bearer strikes a killing blow if they roll a 5 or 6 on a wound rather than a 6, and if they do that, they get 100 extra VPs. I don't see why you would take Destroyer over that. That's just better. So I really like that one. To challenge my pronunciation here, we've got Farkuth's Blades of Justice. So they are, apologies if that's completely incorrect, but try my best here. Strength is normal, -1 AP, magical, does 2 hands. So it says troop of infantry only. It gives you +1 attack for each rank an enemy unit the wielder is engaged with. So that's probably better than the +D3 attack one that's from the main book. Also, you can put that on a Necrotect if you wanted to, which is, I think that's okay. 35 points. Now, the Staff of Aeons is only for a Liche Priest. in Mortuary Cult. And it basically is strength +2 strength, -1 AP. And it says any model hit by one or more attacks suffers -1 to its armor for the remainder of the game. Now, if you're combining that with that doppelganger thing where you get to do multiple hits with the weapon, that could be pretty good. Obviously, it doesn't stack the AP, so it's not if you get hit by 5 attacks, you're -5. But you could, you could split attacks or whatever. So I think it's, it's not as bad as it looks. But again, it's Liche Priest. It'd be quite good on a guy on Bone Dragon. It's only 30 points as well, so it doesn't use up all your allowance. You've still got points for the protection and maybe an arcane item. So yeah, I mean, you're not really wanting to be in combat, but if you're on a Bone Dragon, maybe you do. And -1 armor save for the rest of the game, and comboing that guy in, doing that, then attacking, with their -1 armor. Depends what his initiative is. If he goes early, he goes for before the others, it's really good. So I have to look at that. Now you've got the Royal Mantle. It says you can only take it on a Royal Host. You can wear it with other armor. It improves your armor by 1 to the maximum of 2+. And the My Will Be Done rule affects all friendly units within 6. Again, that's decent. It's quite a short range though. Quite hard to get multiple units with that. And My Will Be Done is like, initiative or movement. It's okay, but yeah. It's 40 points as well. A lot. The save is good. Warding Splint. This is heavy armor, which may be worn by a Liche Priest, which gives you a Liche Priest armor save. So this is heavy armor, which is also can be worn by a Liche Priest, and it gives you a 5+ ward save. So again, that's very good. I think you might see that quite a bit to protect the Hierophant. Having a 5+ ward, nothing to be sniffed at. And giving you an armor save as well just helps. Amulet the Serpent. And this one here is exceptionally good. The bearer of the amulet and any unit they join has poisoned attacks. Now, why is that good? Putting that in a unit of bowmen makes all the bow shots poisoned. They hit on 5s. If you get the spell off, the Jaff's Cursed Blades, they're rerolling 1s. 6 is automatically wound. That is like Queen Khalida having that unit of poisoned bow shots. And the bearer can just move to another unit. If you're like, okay, well, that unit of bowman's been whittled down, I'll just join the other one. It was also good in combat if you were playing a host army and using cohorts. Maybe you want the poison on the guys in the unit, but also on the bowmen in the back ranks. That's really solid. This next one's really good. The bearer of the relic of the Desert Sun is not subject to dry as dust or flammable. It's just an auto pick on a Bone Dragon model, in my opinion. Like, not losing that regen, not getting extra damage. That's just going on. That's really solid. That's a good, because basically what that does is it just gets rid of those negative things. Most people will have access to flaming attacks, I assume. There's quite a lot in the game by the looks of it. Just that extra protection. It is 25 points. It is a talisman, so it's not too bad. And we've got some more banners. So we've got the Royal Standard of Settra. It can only be taken in an army with Settra, or Nekaph, the Emissary of Settra. You gain Hatred and Terror, and it's 50 points. Really good. Want to re-roll, getting Terror solid. So you can't. It's just a really good banner. Obviously you need Settra or the Herald. But if you're playing a Settra list, that's a good mana to put on his unit or on the battle standard or something, like to have that nearby. You've got the Sigil of Centuries. All enemy units within 6 have a -1 to their initiative. That's okay. I mean, it might make a difference, but you're low initiative anyway. A lot of people will be taking great weapons. I don't think it's that big a deal. Might be good. It might come in handy. Tapestry of Conquered Lands. Any enemy standard captured is worth 100 victory points. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, yeah, okay, but how many banners are you going to collect in a game? Maybe one. Maybe two if you're lucky with that unit. So, yeah, it's okay, but you're paying points to get maybe some points. I don't know. And that doesn't really excite me. Banner Desert Winds. This is very good. So models who type infantry, they gain the Vanguard and Reserve move special rules. It's probably best served on a unit of Tomb Guard or you know, well, Tomb Guard basically. We've got some enchanted items. So we've got the Staff of Awakening. So when you use a Rise on infantry or cavalry, they recover an extra D3. It's 50 points, but again, it's extra healing. Orb of Petra. Enemy model that targets the character and the unit joined is an additional -1 in the shooting phase. Now you could combine that with the other banner, so they'd be -2. So that's pretty good. That's like quite a good anti-shooting defense. If you're using it on a bunker that also shoots against a lot of these avoidance armies that want to shoot off the bunker and kill your Hierophant, that's like a really good item to have. It is 40 points though. Then you've got Fazek's Canopy, or Canopy, single use. So during your command sub-phase, if you're not engaged in combat, you can unleash the contents by making a leadership test. And if you pass, then you get 2d6 plus 3 skeleton warriors. Again, not a bad item to have a way of putting and they're not worth any points, which is important. So you can basically summon these out and use them as a screen. They're skirmishers, so I don't know where they got the horde rule, but there you go. Anyway, so yeah, I think doing that might be decent. Just to give you just basically, it's a bit like the Jason Argonaut Dragontooth thing. You just chuck them down and you get a load of skellies pop up. Just become a speed bump, really. So it's not a bad item for 40 points. They don't cost anything. So, you know, that's always good. Curse Weaver. The bearer of the Curse Weaver gets +1 modified to their casting roll when casting hexes. And +1 to cast is good, and some of the hexes are good, and they're high cast. So I think the Necromancy lore has some good hexes that have high cast values. And the Tablets of Tahoth. So these are, again, common, so you can have more than multiple of these. A wizard can have up to 3, each as a single use. You can basically get +1 to your cast roll. So they're pretty decent if there's a spell you want to get off that's hard to cast and it's clutch. Get +3 to cast on it. If you're level 4, it's +7. I mean, getting that 11+ on that illusion spell, probably not that more likely now. So that's quite a nice thing to have in your back pocket, and it still gives you 40 points left over if you've got 100 points. So then you could take the orb, or you could take something else like the warding split, or even the Amulet of the Serpent. So you could take something as well as that, and it gives you a thing. You could even go, well, actually, I don't need +3. I'll go for +2. And that's only 40 points. And then you could take on top of that the Canopy. So that's, you know, gives you your buff speed bump unit, and that gives you 20 points left over. I mean, you might just decide to take another one of those tablets. But yeah, so that's good. Pretty good. Okay, so that's magic items. Now, where was I? I was in amongst the units, wasn't I? Just done Tomb Guard. So, Skeleton Warriors. So, they're 4 points. That's dirt cheap, really. I mean, I think they always used to be more expensive than this. Someone will correct me. I'm pretty sure they were like, Tomb Guard were like 14 points, 13, 14 points. And I think Skeletons were like 8 to 10 points. So almost half. The Command's also dirt cheap at 15 for what they are. I mean, the champion you're pretty much going to take all the time because it just gives you a challenge out. It makes your units survive so much longer. You can give them like armor, thrusting spears, but they've got hammer and shields. They've got the horde rule, and they're also a regimental unit. So you can use detachments in Tomb Kings, which I think it's pretty good. It's pretty strong. Like having units that can have support charges and support firing is decent. 0 to 1 can have a magic standard, and 0 to 1 can have the Nehekhara phalanx special rule, which again is, you know, it is good. It's worth, if you're gonna have, you're probably not gonna have more than one unit, honestly. You can give magic items to the champion as well, which I find bizarre. But yeah, Skeleton Warriors, they are like easy to resurrect. They're only weapon skill 2, initiative 2. They're tough 3. They haven't got a very good save. They die in droves, but they can be resurrected. You can just take a big block of them. They've got hordes, so you can get decent static res on them. If you put the war banner on them as well, it's just good static res. You're just like, yeah, loads of static res. I'm just gonna sit there. I kind of like that on the Tomb Guard, if I'm honest with you. I don't see why you would take. I know they're like half the cost, so you can take double the wounds. So it's whether or not the weapon skill and the toughness makes enough difference for you to have like double the amount of models. Because if you don't give them any upgrades, you know, you probably give them like armor, so they're 5 points a model. So, you know, it's 40 of them is like 200 points. It's like, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, that they ain't dying. You're not getting through that. It's like, you're not getting through that in a round for sure. They're unbreakable, you know. It's like, that is a decent tar pit. Whether you take them or not, I don't know, but they are dirt cheap. Skeleton Archers, now, these ones, it says here, if a detachment, so I don't think you can take Skeleton Warriors as a detachment. No, no option for that. So your detachments are archers, which means you can stand and shoot when they charge your main blocks. If they're, you know, smaller units. Obviously, you could just take them as a unit. Now, I actually think these are really good because, yeah, they don't have the shield, right? So you think about it like normal skellies, right? So they're 5 points each. If you give them like armor, they're 1 point more than the spearmen, but they shoot, and they are just as the same stat line, but they shoot. So I think bowmen are very, very good in Tomb Kings. They can't have a magic banner, unfortunately, which means you can't make them an extra -1 to hit. But there you go. Can't have it all, right? Then you've got Skeleton Skirmishers, and that's interesting. I don't know. You can make them ambush as well, so you could use them as the it came from below thing. They've got Chariot Runners as well. They got the Vanguard move. These guys are pretty cool. Again, they're dirt cheap, 4 points each. But obviously, like, if you have a unit of these, if you have 5 of them, I mean, that's like, what, 20 points? It's like 20 points for a 5-man screen. Like, it's points they're going to get, but I think a lot of events are capping units to 3 of the same. So the fact they're different to these, and max is 20, you can give them bows if you want to, but if you just use them as a screen, you don't give them anything. And they're just there to get in the way. And they're very slow. They can't march. You know, they do get a Vanguard move, though. It's only 4 inches, but they do get it. I don't think you'll see these very much, to be honest. I just don't think they're worth it. You might want an ambush unit, just for lols. But yeah, they don't have close order or open order, so they can't even rank up. So I don't think you'll see these. Now, Archers have got open order as well, it's worth mentioning. So they do get to do pivots. Just 1 pivot up to 90 degrees, but that's quite a big deal for a shooting unit, to be able to pivot around and shoot things that are trying to run around outside your arc. So that could make a difference between getting a shot on or not. Also, you're not getting any penalties for moving and shooting, so it's like you might as well just move them as normal and just chip away. I like the Archers a lot. I think they're really good. Now Ushabti, these are monstrous infantry. They're weapon skill 4 and they're strength 4, but if you've got the Ritual Blades, there's going to be strength 6, -3 armor pierce, which is very good. They do strike last. They're initiative 2 anyway. They're not too expensive at 49 points. I think like being monstrous infantry, they only have. I think they've got heavy armor. They got a 5 armor save, and they got a 6 regen. They have the Khopesh rule. The Great Bow is interesting at 30 inches, strength 6, and they're BS 3, so they're going to hit on 4s because they've got the arrows of that rule, and they're multiple wounds 2, and they're armor bane 2, and they can volley. I think the Great Bow is actually good, like because it doesn't cost anything, it's free, so you can just 3 of these guys is just under 150 points. I think you can take they're going to shoot at 30 inches, which is a long range. Strength 6, armor bane with multiple wounds. There's only one shot a model, but there are no slouches in combat either. Even if they don't have the Ritual Blade, they'll still have the Khopesh, and they're still strength 4. 3 attacks a model in combat, and shooting is one shot, but they can stand and shoot as well. So like I don't know, like I'm not sure you'll see these much, but I like the models. I think they're cool. They're really cool. I love the Ushabti. I don't know whether you'll take them for that, whether or not they're useful to have a big unit of these. I don't know, but I do like the idea of the Great Bow. Just that could be quite nasty against a hero. And anything like that, multiple wounds 2, strong. So yeah, I mean it's chip damage, and if you take 4, the unit strength for 12, they will disrupt heavy infantry as well on a flank charge. So they're more than a threat for shooting as well. So they are infantry, so it's worth pointing out. So the healing is okay on them, not brilliant, but I love them, but I don't know if they're that good that you'll see a lot of them. But it is a good way to get damage in the army if you're taking the Ritual Blade. I mean, that's a good grind. That's a good amount of damage, and obviously any damage you do in a combat, even if they hit squishy things, is less models you're losing because it's more combat res. So yeah, they're good. They're a good hammer unit for a flank, to be honest. Even without the blades and with the bows, whether or not you'd go with the shooting route or you go the blade route, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer there is. I wish you could mix them, so you'd have like the back rank with bows and they could shoot and that kind of thing. So there are some venerable versions in the Mortuary cult we'll get to later. Tomb Swarms, talked about these. You could take 2 of them, 37 points. It's a good speed bump, so there'll be 39 points a model for for being a speed bump. So you're looking at like 78 points for 2 bases that you can ambush. They're not very good, but they'll kill a war machine crew quite comfortably, I think. And also they will block a charge again quite comfortably. So yeah, decent. Carrion, interesting. They're monstrous infantry. They fly, so they can march. So that's probably, they got Swift Stride and the Skirmishers. These are actually quite good at getting around the back and hunting things. 3 attacks each at strength 4. Nothing to be sniffed at. 2 wounds each. I just think, for 27 points a model, like you could take 2 of them. That's like not very expensive. I mean, I know they're probably special, but it's not like you've got the special slots like you used to. So having like MSU, Scorpions, Carrion, Swarms actually gives you loads of stuff that just gets in the way. Obviously they're going to bleed points because you're going to lose a lot of these things because they're not hard to kill, but the fact they can march and they fly 10 means you can move 20 inches with them, means you can reliably block charges. And if you give 3 units a 2, you're how many points is that each? Like 54 points for a unit, so 162 points over the game that you're giving up. But that's 3 turns you can just block a bus. You can just go, well, that bus isn't charging me. If you've got the Skeleton Skirmishers as well, or the Artifact, you can basically block a Ground Knight bus from ever fighting you. Which is worth that many points, to be honest. or at least you can get the charges on it to stop the lance and everything working. They're also quite good at just going around and hunting things like those lone models that you've shot off and they've lost got one model left, and you just, if you've got a unit of 2 of these running around, they've got a 360-degree line of sight because they're skirmishers, so they're quite hard to avoid as well. Like a couple of units of these have print on the flanks. So I think Carrion, they may not seem very sexy, but I think they're actually quite useful in the Tomb King army that struggles with movement, just to stop stuff running circles around you, to be honest. Skeleton Horsemen, I do laugh, heavy cavalry. They used to always be called heavy horsemen, but they were nothing really. They were never heavy. Weapon skill 2, they're like the low leadership. If your Hierophant's gone, it's just you can give them armor, cavalry spears, put more points into them. They're movement 8, which is probably the best thing. They are close order. They've got Horde. They've got Swift Stride. They've got Vanguard. All pretty good stuff. They could have counter charge. They have a magic banner. They have magic items. I'm not really entertaining taking these. I did have unit 16 in my old list. You might do a cavalry bus, but it's not very good. You just use chariots. They're better. But yeah, I don't know. I think really, I can't see the points for these. Tomb Kings are cheap. They are quite cheap for what they are. So you might have a unit of these, but I don't know. I can't see it. I'm sure once you start writing a list, they never make it. They just have more bowmen, have horse archers. Horse archers, great. And these guys, because they shoot, and it's essentially because of that. And also they've got scouts. They skirmish. They've got Swift Stride. They've got Reserve Move, Open Order. They've got they can have Chariot Runners, and they're not restricted. So if you're using chariots, being Chariot Runners is great. They're just so much better, because they're not there to do damage in combat. They're there to shoot. They're there to screen, to get in the way. They're not there to break units on the charge. They're just not. That's not what they're for. I don't think heavy cavalry hit hard enough for you to do that. You can't put kings on cavalry, so you're never really going to have a kitty character on a horse. So really, the only horse characters are going to be ones you don't want fighting. So the better unit is going to be these guys. So yeah, definitely a big fan of horse archers. I really like these. I think you're going to have at least 2 units. I'd probably have 3 units. I think a lot of events are going to restrict you to having 3 units of any one thing. I'm going to max that on these. I think you're looking at 5 times 11, 70 points with no upgrades. I mean, it's just 75 points with chariot runners, and they don't run away. They can scout. They're just great. I mean, why wouldn't you take these? They're just so good. People go, oh, they're awful. Well, maybe, but I really like them. I don't know why. I think the aesthetic of it as well. Your horse, your chariots, your horse archers, your tomb guard on foot, your double catapults, your casket. It just looks great as an army. It looks fantastic. I love them. These are another one of the units I love. I think they're so cool. I love the lore. When they were entombed, that people have disgraced, and they're killed by the necro serpent venom, and they become the rider. It is so cool in the old book. I don't know how much is written down here, but there was a whole thing about them in the other book. I might do a lore show on Tomb Kings. If people are interested, let me know if you're interested in the lore, and I'll start doing some lore coverage when I get around to it. Still so many rules to cover. I'm sure the releases will slow down, so I'll have time to catch up with other stuff around the old world. I'm just excited. I think I was in a chat group today. One of my friends said it's just lit a hobby fire in them, this whole old world thing. They've been pretty just haven't done anything for ages, and this whole thing's just really exciting. I remember I was chatting to Rob at Firestorm, and the glint in his eyes, it was just amazing. Anyway, sidetrack. Necropolis Knights, Monstrous Cavalry. You have units of 2. They're 54 points. They're tough 4, 3 wounds. The Knights got 2 attacks. The Necroserpent's got 3 attacks. Strength 5 on that. They can have I think they've got cavalry spears yet. So and you can have a magic standard on these as well, which is good because there's lots of good options for these. Necropolis Captain can take a great weapon. which is a pretty decent option. It makes him like strength 6. I'll probably consider that. Magic items up to 25 points on him as well. They got armored hide, so that means that adds to the riders' armor save, and the riders have got light armor in his shield, so they've got a 4-up armor save. This is pretty good in this army. It could be healed as well, not amazingly, but not too bad. We talked about that earlier with the Arise rule. They do impact hits. They've got the Indomitable rule, so 1 less Kopesh, poisoned attacks for the mount, and they've got Swift Stride. I think these are badass. Like, I just love them. I don't know how effective in the game they are, but if you want a hammer, this is a good hammer unit. They are good. They're fast. They operate on the flanks. They can, they are, once you're going to have to tank and spank with Tomb Kings. You're not going to charge this unit into the front of something and beat it and run it down. Probably very unlikely. You need to basically set it up that these are going in the flanks. You need to pin stuff. And with your army not running away and being able to add lots of wounds cheaply, that's not too hard to do. So that might be an argument for the heavy horse, because they can charge far distance, and so you can charge and pin them. And if you take a big enough unit, they're not going to die in the time that it takes for you to get these manoeuvred to the flank. So maybe the heavy horse become a unit you do see. I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but maybe I'm wrong. I think it's better to go more the shooting defensive route with a couple things that can spin out, but anyway, what do I know? These just look cool. I love them. I love the theme of these. I've got quite a lot of these because they were really, really good in Age of Sigmar. I've still kept them, so I think I've got 12 assembled and painted. So hopefully I'll get to use those. Need to rebase them though, of course, for the first. So we've got Stalkers. They're move 7. They're monsters cav. You can have 2 in the unit, so it's 104 points. You probably want to give them ambushes as 108 points. They're quite good at ambushing and going after small units in the backfield because they're fast. They do have. They don't have. Do they have Swift Stride? Yes, they do. They have Swift Stride. They got the regen. Close Order gives them extra pippa. Combat res, it helps. Weapons skill 3, strength 5 because got halberds, but they get D3 extra attacks from the tails. With just a hand weapon, basically. The shooting attack is only 1 shot a model. It's only strength 2, but you wound against their initiative. Because they don't have the arrows of Aspha rule, they do take modifiers for their shooting. So basically, you can't take armor saves, but ward and regen are fine. They are magical, so anyone who's got the rule, which means you're warp spawned, I think it is, so you wouldn't get your regen against that. But I don't know as much in the game, probably just demons. They're okay. I think they might be a good unit to put up behind if you're going to want them to be a unit that maneuvers to rear charge. You're probably going to need to take 3 of these because you want the unit strength. You want a bit more oomph. And I don't know if that's worth taking, because I think you probably maneuver around in the same amount of time that these guys would be able to get there. Skeletal Chariots. Now I think these are great. I mean, you've got they're a great bus. If you're looking for a bus unit with your characters, this is it, because you can put kings and princes in it. BSBs can go in it, so it's you can't put a Necrotect in it, unfortunately. For the hatred extra attack, which is a bit of a shame. They're movement 8, which is fast. They do have some really good rules. So they've got, unfortunately, they're dry as dust. So they do take extra damage from flaming. They are horde though. Impact hits. They've got open order. They've got regen. They've got a reserve move. They move in the shooting phase, and they've got swift stride. And you can take command. You can have a magic banner. And you'll see you can join this unit with characters. They're 43 points a chariot, but it's pretty good because they've got bows as well, and both used to be only one of them could shoot and one of them was a driver. It was a bit annoying. Now they can both shoot, so basically, and you can shoot 360 because they're a chariot. I personally think that these guys are like going to be your bread and butter for units in your army. I think you need to have at least one unit, and I would go big. I like the units of 3 operating independently, but I like one big unit as well. Obviously, if you're playing the Royal Host, it could be Tomb Guard Chariots, which are just better across the board. So, you know, because they're Tomb Guard on it rather than scrubby guys. But they are weapon skill free, which is nice. They're extra paper weapon skill. They're tough 4. Yeah, they've got a 5 up armor save. It's not the best. 3 wounds a model. Yeah, so you can resurrect these as well. I think you'll probably want to take the magic item where you're healing additionally, if you can. So the heretic jar, is it heretic jar? The one that you can take on the wizard that needs you to rise multiple times, and have a unit nearby that you can affect these. That's why I think a lich on a horse and a unit of horsemen, like skeleton archers, would be good, because you get the movement shenanigans of that. Yeah, I like it. I think they're really good. Like, it's not much more to say. They're core as well, I think. So yeah, it's good. The Bone Dragon. Now this is the thing. So you get +1 toughness and 5 wounds. So that just means that because you can heal, that just brings you out of the thresholds of being gimped in a turn. Obviously, you can't really hide. You're gonna be shot at. But so the Bone Dragon mount. So we're gonna talk about the mounts now. So obviously the chariot can be a mount as well. So if you put, I'll talk about that. I should mention it. So if you put like a king in it, you would still use the king's toughness because it's better than this. It's +5, but you'd add 3 wounds to his. So you know he's on 7 wounds. That's quite a big deal. That's quite hard to get through, and especially if you can't target him with shooting because he's in the unit. He hits hard. It's good. You just it's solid. But the Bone Dragon, I really like it. It gives you +1 toughness, 5 wounds. I think in Old World, monstrous mounts are very strong. They're very powerful. You get a -1 to shoot at him anyway for this Cloud of Dust rule, but getting +5 wounds and +1 toughness, it's actually pretty decent in combat. It's got 5 attacks at strength 6, and it's got -2 AP. It's also got this Breath of Desiccation, which is like really nice for the caster, like your lich, to be on this. Strength 3 -2 AP, and it's magical, and it's multiple wounds too. It can really make a mess of some units. It's a little bit of chip damage. You're not like, but if you're positioning for a flank charge, you get around the side, and because he flies, and he flies 9, you can actually march him down the side. He causes terror, which is great. He's got Stomp, it's a large target, Swift Stride, and he's got Indomitable 2, which is also good. Close Order, so he gets +1 combat res, and he's got full plate, so he's got a 4 armor save. Obviously that doesn't stack with the rider stuff, but what's nice about that is that you don't have to spend points on saves. If you go, well, that's fine, 4 up is okay, I'll just take the 4 up. And because it's got a regen save as well, because your rider has a regen save, so you can use that of like 5 up. So you'll then, if you get a ward on there as well, and if you take the artifact where you ignore flaming attacks, you're basically going down the route of being a 4 up, 5 up, 5 up, and -1 to hit and shoot in. So again, you're almost getting close to that Chaos Lord model. Like it's pretty good. Not quite as good as that, but you can definitely kit this guy out. He's definitely defensive. I do like the breath weapon. It's only 195 points, which it seems like a lot, but it's so much value with what you get out of this. Particularly as in Tomb Kings, you can't march unless you fly. So being able to fly, that's a big deal. So I think I might experiment taking this a few times to see how it goes. I'm tempted to put my Hierophant on this and then put my King in a chariot bus. And there's my 2, my Hierophant and my King, and a BSB in the chariot. I don't know how many points I'd have left for auxiliary Liche Priests. I'm going to say probably not a lot, but I would have to do some math. I'm probably going to get close to 1,000 points on heroes. I generally go quite hero heavy when I write armies because I just love heroes. And so I'll see how it fits out. It might be the case that your lich just ends up running around the back and you just don't take the dragon, or you put the king here and the chariots become just support units. But I think you kind of need something to focus the enemy on. that even if it's a big chariot unit, because the chariot unit's got a lot of wounds in it, it's not going to crumble easily. But I do like the Bone Dragon. I think, yeah, it's a cool addition to the army. You know, it didn't have access to things like that. And that's what I quite like about the old world. You've got access to skirmishers, you've got access to you know, detachments, you've got stuff you didn't have before. So that's fantastic. The Khemrian Warsphinx. Now, this thing it's got a 5-up save. It's toughness 6 with 5 wounds. It doesn't seem that survivable for 175 points. It has got crew on it, and it can take up to 2 additional crew. So it's got 2 crew on it. So you can have up to 4 crew on it. You can give it an Envenom Sting. I don't see the point. The Fiery Roar, you're probably going to want to have a breath on it. So it's got the riders. They're BS3, so they're going to hit on a 4, and they've got bows. Okay, and you've got Cleaving Blow. There's Close Order. It's got the Howler Rule. Indomitable 2. It's a large target. It's regen of 6. Stomp Terror. Wicked Claws on -2 AP. It's Sting. It's got Poison first strike. Strike first, sorry. And you can make 1 attack with this weapon. One of its attacks with this weapon. I don't get it, maybe. But, I mean, very rarely you're going to be like, oh, I need to hit you before, and you hit me and you've got 1 wound. It's like, well, that doesn't make much difference, does it? The breath weapon, strength 4, -1 AP. If you take a character, it counts as a chariot. So what that means is you're going to add the wounds to your wounds. So you're adding 5 wounds, and you're going to take this toughness, which is 6. So actually, a prince in this would be pretty good, because you're going to have, you know, this is +5 wounds and +1 toughness. +5 wounds and basically +1 toughness, but Prince gets +2 toughness. So actually, this as a mount gives you pretty much everything that the Bone Dragon does. You just don't fly, and it's not quite as good, but it's a little bit cheaper. But obviously, you can put on a hero, so you don't need to use your Tomb King in it if you want your king in that chariot unit. So you could use this. I don't think we'll see many of these. I think it's more of a heart choice because you like the model, and purely because I just think there's other things that do this role better. Like if you want a monster thing with a character mount, you should take the Bone Dragon. If you want, you know, just a good monster that goes and kills stuff, you can take the Necrosphinx because it flies. And if you want shooting, or you might take chariots. It's kind of like it's a bit of a mishmash of different things that kind of doesn't feel like it's got much of a space. But I still don't think it's a bad choice. I think, and again, that's what I quite like. You can write lists in lots of different ways. Now these are clutch for me. These are like chef kiss. These are great. These are fantastic. 70 points, and the reason they got Monster Slayer and that and Killing Blow. So they got -2 AP. Their strength 5, 4 attacks, tough 5, 3 wounds. They've got heavy armor. So they've got 5 up armor save. They've got a 6 up regen. But if you have multiples of these, like 70 points, you can have up to 3 and 1,000 points, and most tournaments will only let you take 3. I'd probably max this out. They've got Vanguard, they've got Swift Stride, they can ambush if you want them to. So again, they can't charge when they come up, but getting in position and just being threatening. But it's just the threat of them charging and just killing a character or killing a dragon, like, just killing that character on dragon. I've rolled a 6, take him off. You know, it's like, I don't want to risk that, you know. Yeah, they're in initiative 3, but the point is that if you can put multiple in and they've got split attacks, being tough 5 and stuff, or you can debuff them in magic, tag him in the corner, you know. I love Tomb Scorpions. I've always have loved them, and I think I made mine out of Ushabti upper bodies and scorpions, so I made like a combo like the Scorpion King, if you've seen that movie. Yeah, I just think they're so good. Like for 70 points, I definitely want to take at least 2 in every list. I think. Hate the model. That's why I converted mine. Again, the Bone Giant. Now, I'm going to call it the Bone Giant. It's Necrolith Colossus. It doesn't seem that great, but that unstoppable assault. He's weapon skill 3. Yeah, okay, so he doesn't hit very often. But every time he does an unsaved wound, he gets an additional attack, and those attacks go, and it's tough. It's strength 6, -2 AP. He's got killing blow as well. I do like it. I do think it's cool. He's 160. It's pretty on the pricey side. He is tough 6 with 5 wounds. Again, very survivable. He's got heavy armor. He's got the timber rule. Causes terror. So again, I don't know if you take this because other things fill this role probably better. Base footprint's important. 50 by 50 is quite small for a footprint, so maybe that's a reason to take him. I like him. I think he's cool. I miss my Bone Giant. I did actually take one in the past as a soft choice. Necrosphinx. And the reason is because this guy, right? So he's got 6 wounds. He's toughness 6. He's got heavy armor. He's not really much more expensive. You're looking at what, 30 points, 35 points more. You're not really going to take the sting on him. He flies again. Fantastic. He's got regen of a 5-up as well. Swift Stride, Terror. He's got Killing Blow, and he's got Monster Slayer. So again, it's +5 strength, -4 AP as well. 1 attack with additional attack with this. So he's got 5 attacks at strength 5 with -1 with Killing Blow, and he's got 1 attack at strength 10, -4 AP with Heroic Killer, well, Monster Killer. He's 195 points. I think he's awesome. Like, I could quite easily take 2 of these because that is a lot to deal with. They're fast. They do a lot of damage. They're not easy to kill at all. Yes, you can shoot them, but if you've got multiple units like this, you've got 2 of these and a Bone Dragon. How are you going to deal with that? Like, how are you going to get rid of all that? I generally think the Construct Army there is definitely there, especially playing Mortuary Cult. So Necrosphinxes are, I think, they're really good. Cool model. You can actually buy it as well, which is a plus. So yeah, we go with that one. But I do like it. But it does say here that you can nominate a single character, and this model may re-roll hit rolls of 1 against that character. So again, if you go and play against that unkillable, quote unquote, Chaos Warrior Lord, 2 of these, is he going to kill 2 of them before they get to kill him? What's he going to do? Charge a unit of skeletons with 50 wounds in it to try and kill your characters, get challenged out? Then he's going to not kill the unit because he can't do 50 wounds in combat res with the overkill. It's impossible. You've got your static res. You go, charge 2 of these in, Scorpion in the back, bish, bash, bosh, get that Killing Blow. Oh, yeah, he's dead. Like, I know people were saying, oh, that Chaos Lord's ridiculous. I said, yeah, he's good, but come on. There are things in the game that deal with it. So, it's about playing. It's about playing the game. And I think it's not like other games where you can take something like that and there's no play on the table. Like Warhammer Fantasy Battle has play on the table, and this guy, it gives you some options. It gives you a way of dealing with those heroes. I think I would probably take 2 of these because I just don't think they're easy to deal with, and I think they're going to get so much value over the game. I like the speed of them as well, and if you take Carrion, you can protect them as well because the Carrion can keep up and take the charges. So I think these guys are really good, really solid. It's got a decent move as well if you do end up not being able to fly, if you get got by that pesky Bretthorn. Screaming Skull Catapults, always a favourite. These are rare, 105 points. They're a war machine, and they're a stone thrower. So it's like, yeah, a stone thrower is very good. Strength 4, 8, -1, -3, D3 +1. You can't snipe with it anymore because you got to put it over the middle of a unit. It's got flaming attacks though. It's okay. The main reason really is Screaming Skulls. So if you take a wound, you've got to take a panic test. So I've won games where I made against a Brett player, had 3 massive lances. I hit a lance with this. He panicked. It ran through the other lance. That panicked, and that was game over. And it was done on turn 1. And I was like, because his unit was so big, it was like touching the back of the board. Sometimes it's just worth the shot. It's like, I'll just take it and I'll just have a go. Never know. You know, I've seen people fail a leadership 10 rerollable break test. I've seen it. So it can just win you a game if you hit the right unit with it. Obviously, if they're immune to psychology, they don't care. But you know, I don't see they're that bad, but I don't think they're amazing. But I mean, I wouldn't say no to having these. And they also got Skulls of the Foe upgrades you can take, which is quite pricey. But this is quite good because it's a 2d6 from the centre hole, and then -1 to their leadership. Now, obviously, that's decent because that's going to affect their panic test, and also it's going to affect like other things that they need leadership for, and it could hit units that aren't even the ones that are nearby. So I think this combined with Necromancy, you could do some really cool stuff. So I still don't think they're bad. Like, I think they're good, but these are in the rare slot as well. So your rare slots are going to get quite competitive to what you want to take. So now we get onto the Casket of Souls, which is a war machine. It's a rare choice, 135 points. This is really good. It's got some unusual. So it's immovable. You can't move it. Indomitable 2, so that protects it in combat res. It's got regen of 5. It's also a skirmisher, which means that it has a 360-degree line of sight. You can pivot it, but I don't, maybe just for aesthetic reasons. Love the artwork. It was one of my favourite pictures from the original 6th edition book. Just so characterful. I don't know who the artist is. I think it might be Paul Dayton was the artist. I don't know. But whoever did the artwork in the original Tomb King book, so much of it is amazing. I wish the models looked as good. Some of them do, but not all. So anyway, the casket itself, can't wait for this to come out. It's just great. I think you're going to have this in your army pretty much every time. It does so much work. So whilst within 12, friendly Liche Priests get +1 to cast. Any model that casts a bound spell also gets +1, so it doesn't affect the casket itself, but honestly it's really good. Then you've got immovable object, so can't move. It can still pivot and follow up in combat if you want to, if you push people back. But really the main reason you take this is the bound spells. So it's got 2. It's got Unbound Spirit Rule. So basically, when it gets reduced to 0 wound, roll a d6 for every unit, friend and foe within 12 on a 4+. They take d6 strength 3 hits with no armor or regen saves. Then you remove it. So it can blow up and do some damage to you, but honestly, it's fine. You've got healing. It's actually could do probably damage to them as well, so it's not bad. Don't worry too much about that. So it's got these 2 bound spells. So they're power level of 3. So you roll 2d6 and add 3. Need to beat the value, equal beat it. So you've got Light of Death. Now this is really good. It's 36-inch range magic missile. They got to take a leadership test. If they pass it, yeah, they just take D3 strength 3 hits with AP of -1, which is not very scary. But if they fail it, they take D6 +3, strength 6 hits with multiple wounds 2, no armor or regen allowed. That's really good. And you can have 2 of these caskets in a 2,000 point army. And I think they're probably going to do more damage than a Skirmishers called Catapult. Obviously you don't get the panic test, but you could have 2 of these and 2 catapults in. I think that fits. Because these are what would be 270, yeah. So and you could have Skulls of the Foe on 1 catapult. So yeah, you could do that. Then you've got the Light of Protection, which is it's cast on an 8. Now this is on itself. It remains in play, but obviously, like they have to be in range of the casket to unbind it, and unbind ranges aren't very long. And any friendly unit within 18 gets a 6-up ward, which is like brilliant. That's like in addition to your regen. And also, there's -1 to hit against any friendly model within 18 of this model, or any friendly unit. So that's a huge range, because that's 18 to any point of the unit. -1 and a 6-up ward. You put this model sort of centrally in your deployment, it's going to hit most of your army. That's just insane. It does say if you cast Light of Death, then that Light of Protection instantly stops. So it's kind of that risk-reward thing. But if you've got two, one could be, you have two chances to get the light up. The one that got the light up, the other one you do the magic missile from. So yeah, it's I think it's really good. I mean, like that Light of Death, if you've got any leadership modifiers as well, you know, like the Screamer Skull Catapult, for example, which gives you, with Skulls of the Foe, which gives you -1 leadership, then, you know, that could do some work, especially with multiple wounds too, like that Chaos Dragon Lord that people whinging about. Yeah, I mean, it's the leadership 9, take him down to 8. If he fails that test, you know, you're just like, well, there you go, take him off probably. I mean, at least do a significant portion of damage. Yeah, so Light of Death, really like the casket. I think that's pretty good. So that's all the stuff in the normal muster list. Then in the Arcane journal, there are some extra armies. So we've got the Royal Host, which changes the army. It's an army of infamy, so it changes the kind of composition of what you're doing. So you've got to have a Tomb King or Prince. You can't have a High Lich, basically. So you can have Mortuary Priests and Heralds, but there's no like level 3, level 4 wizard. You've got to spend a third of your army on core units, which is a higher portion. But you can have Skeleton Chariots a core, so actually, like, that's fine. You can have 0 to 1 unit of Tomb Guard or Tomb Guard Chariots as a core choice. And I think if you did a Chariot army, you're probably going to take this list. And then Skeleton Archers, Skeleton Infantry Cohorts, and Skeleton Cavalry Cohorts. Now, Cohorts are new units that are in this list, and I'll go through those in a sec. Up to 50% of your army may be spent on Tomb Guard, Skeleton Skirmishers, Horse Archers, Ushabti, Necropolis Knights, Tomb Guard Chariots, 0 to 2 Tomb Scorpions, 0 to 2 Warsphinxes. So really, you want the Scorpions. You don't have access to Carrion. You do have the Tomb Guard Chariots, which are a new unit as well. You can take Necropolis Knights. That's all cool. And you can have Screaming Skull Catapults. So you can't have Casket of Souls or anything like that. So you don't have a Necrosphinx. So there's some concessions taking this list. I think if you want to play a Settra Chariot army, that this is the list you'll be using. There's a little interesting point here. So it says you've got the Battle Standard Bearer, so 25 points. And then you've got magic items. Any models in this army that have the option to purchase magic items can purchase from the common or Tomb Kings of Khemri magic item lists. So it's there. Then they've got some special rules. They've got grind them down. So whilst in the general's command range, friendly models with the troop type Chariot may re-roll the dice when determining the number of impact hits they cause, which is quite strong. Language of the priest. So the general of the royal host must be a Tomb King or Prince. And for 35 points, this character may have the Arise special rule and be a level 1 wizard. And they know Necromancy, and they're also the army's Hierophant. Even if your army does not have the highest level wizardry in your army, a wizard with this special rule may wear armor without penalty. So there you go. You can have a king that's also your Hierophant, so you can kind of double up. You've also have this thing, lay in wait. So 0 to 1 unit of skirmishers per 1,000 points can have the ambush rule for free, which is okay. Whatever. It says 0 to 1 unit of skeleton horse archers may have the chariot running special rule for free. Yeah, I'll take that. That's just save some points. And this rule, Steadfast Discipline, so a unit with this rule can volley fire during a turn which is moved or whilst performing a stand and shoot. Now this is important for the cohorts. There was someone who talked to them on the chats, I think on the Army show, didn't understand how the cohorts worked, so I'll just go through that now. So I'll talk to the Mortuary Cult in a minute. So Infantry Cohorts. So Infantry Cohort, you say it's got a unit size, if I come in here, of 10-10, okay? And it says that when writing your list, a skeleton infantry cohort must contain 10 Royal Host warriors and 10 Royal Host archers. Royal Host warriors always occupy the front ranks, and archers at the back. Now, what this means is you can shoot the rear ranks into volley fire even if you move, and you can stand and shoot. So you get half the number of models can shoot whenever you move or stand and shoot, because obviously you can't see. If you're on a hill and you're you're reformed into like multi ranks, you can probably fire with multiple ranks, because there's that thing in the FAQ about the slope of the hill and about seeing over if you're going down the hill. So I think you might even be able to just do the second rank, but yeah, so they're okay for that. But really what you're doing is you're getting that chip damage and that extra shooting with the protection of having cheap bodies in the front. And they come with, hand weapons, thrusting spears, light armor and shields. They can also have a magic standard up to 50 points. So these Royal Infantry cohorts can have magic banners. They're also a regiment unit, so you can take detachments of archers, which are the only thing that can be a detachment, to support them. And remember that wounds done with stand and shoot count towards combat res. So yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, they're 5 points each, so they're dirt cheap. And they can have access to magic banners, which allows you to get the poison shots. So they have access to magic banners, which is good. So there you go. So that's a cohort. The cavalry cohort works basically the same. And then I'm going to go back and talk about the Mortuary Cult army. So the Mortuary Cult is basically themed around the opposite. So it's like having minimal kings, and it's more about the priesthood. So you can have one high priest or mortuary priest. You can have up to one tomb prince or arch necrotect per 1,000 and necrotects. So you can't have really any of these combat heroes. It's all priests. You've got to spend 33% of your army on skeleton warriors, archers, skeleton horsemen, skeleton horse archers. 0 to 1 unit of tomb swarms can be core. 0 to 1 unit of Ushabti can be core. 0 to 1 unit of necroserpents can be core. And necroserpents are another new unit. I'll talk about them in a minute. You can have 1 or more tomb scorpion per 1,000 points. You have to have at least 1 per 1,000 points. Then it says Ushabti, Venerable Ushabti, tomb swarms. Sorry, this is cut off, so I'm going to try and get it so you can see it. There we go. So Ushabti, Venerable Ushabti, tomb swarms, Carrion, Stalkers, Necroserpents, Skeletal Chariots. 0 to 1 Colossus or Necrosphinx can be taken as a special choice. Then rare is 33%, so you get a bigger rare chunk. Casket of Souls, Screaming Skull Catapults, and a Colossus or Necrosphinx. So in a 2,000 point list, I think you can take a Necrosphinx or Colossus from here, double Screaming Skulls, a Casket, and then maybe a Colossus from the special. So you could have like 2 Necrosphinx, 2 Caskets, 2 Catapults. So this would be pretty good. And obviously you could have I'm not sure if that's a miss. 1 plus Tomb Scorpion per 1,000. Oh, so if you had 2 you got to have two Tomb Scorpions. So yeah. So and then fill this out. A Mortuary cult list have a battle standard, and it says that you get the Banner of the King 127 of Ravening Hordes. So that's kind of the same thing. Talk about magic items. So you get the authority of the Hierophant. So a Mortuary cult army must include at least one Liche Priest to be the Hierophant. The Hierophant is also its general. So it's just saying you have to have one, which I think you have to have one anyway. So this is harmonious incantations. If a Liche Priest with the Mortuary cult army uses a rise, whilst within command range of one or more other Liche Priests, the number of wounds the unit recovers increased by 1. So obviously that puts you 2 wounds back on a monster, so it's going to make it easier to heal. You probably want to spam as many priests as you can in this list as well. And then it says you've got this Sepulchral Animus. It says before making a casting roll, any Liche Priest within a Mortuary cult army can draw upon the Animus of undead constructs. You take a friendly unit that has Nehekharan undead special rule that's within the Liche Priest command range, and whose troop type is Swarm, Monstrous Infantry, Monstrous Cavalry, Monstrous Creature, or Behemoth. So basically it's the you're taking from the constructs from the old rules. They lose 1 to 3 wounds chosen by you. And then you can modify your cast roll by the amount you've taken off. So that's really powerful because you can heal those wounds back anyway. And it's just sometimes you're like, well, I'll lose a couple of wounds off something to get the spell off. It's more important. It's also got the Terrors Below rule. So Tomb Scorpions and Necro Serpents that have this rule for +2 points a model. And when they're placed on the battlefield as a result of using From Beneath the Sand special rule, you can nominate an enemy unit within 8 of it, whose troop type is infantry or heavy infantry. They must make a number of initiative tests equal to the unit strength of the unit. For each test they fail, a single model belonging to the unit is removed from play as a casualty. So it just bypasses saves. It just removes models. So it just bypasses saves, just removes models. So it's pretty cool. These armies, I'm not sure, like you would take these over the normal list, but they're okay for a theme. Some of the units you gain access to are pretty good. So Settra. So Settra he's a heavy chariot. He's on 100 by 150, so his base is like pretty massive. Now what's important about this is the depth of the base means that if he joins a chariot unit, he's going to be hanging on the end. He's not going to be in the middle, or like, you know, inside, wrapped around. He can't be. He's got a 4 up armor save, movement 8. He's strength 6, toughness 5. He's got 8 wounds, which is, you know, pretty good. And he's got his chariot, his leadership 10, obviously. Wouldn't expect him to be any less than that. He's a level 1 wizard. He knows from Necromancy. He's got loads of special rules, which we'll go into in a minute. He's got the Blessed Blade of Petra, the Chariot of the Gods, the Crown of Nehekhara, and the Scarab Breach of Ushabti. So, he's Dry as Dust, Flammable, does 2d3 impact, it's Indomitable 3, which is awesome. My Will Be Done, he's Nehekharan Undead, he's got 5 up regen, he does not kneel, and Settra the Great. So, he gains the Arise special rule, and may use it even when engaged in combat. He must always accept a challenge unless you've got Nekaph, the Emissary of Settra, in the same combat. A bit difficult as he's going to be infantry. You've got Settra the Great, which means he must be your general, and he's also your Hierophant, basically. Then you've got the Chariot of the Gods. So it's flaming magical attacks. And when fielded within the Nehekharan Royal Host army, it may join Tomb Guard chariots as if it were a light chariot, so he can join units if he's in that list. Otherwise, he has to operate independently. He's got the Crown, which is My Will Be Done, affects all units within 6. So again, that's pretty solid. He's got a 5-up ward as well. Blessed Blade of Petra is -3 armor pierce, which is great. Flaming, magical. And any model that suffers 1 or more unsaved wounds has a -1 to its hit rolls for shooting combat for the rest of the game. So he's pretty decent. He's 445 points. Is he worth that? Yeah, he's pretty good. I don't know. Like I'm sort of in 2 minds about him. At least you can still take wizards as well. Like you can take priests in addition to him. You just can't take a level 3 or 4. I think he's cool. I do have a Settra model painted. on a big overall base. So I'll rebase him and I'll probably try him out, see how he gets on. We've got Prince Apophas, the Scarab Lord. So his guy's really cool. So he essentially, he's like a single infantry model that's made out of like a swarm of scarabs. He's got the Ambusher Fly. He's indomitable. He's got a loner, so he can't join units. 5-up regen. He causes terror, which is always a good thing. And it says, after deployment, nominate a single character. He may reroll failed to hit and to wound rolls against the character. In addition, any hits gain the magical attack special rule. He's a Scarab Prince, so should he lose his last wound before he's removed from play, all enemies within 2d6 take 2d6 strength 2 hits with AP of -1. So all the Scarabs go mad. And he's also got a breath weapon, which is strength 2, but it says 4+ is always success, regardless of the toughness. So he's got a breath weapon, he's got 5 attacks, weapon skill 3, weapon skill 4, strength 4, tough 3 with 4 wounds. So he's not like amazing, but he causes terror, which is the main thing. And he can be brought on from, it came from below. He's 130 points. I think he's pretty cool. I mean, he's interesting anyway, for sure. We've got Nekaph, Emissary of Settra. This guy's new. So again, his weapon skill 5, strength 4, 2 wounds, which is not many. 3 attacks. So he's got the Flail of Conquered Kings and light armor. He's also got a regen of 5. He's Settra's champion and swarm protector. Killing blow. So it says here, any unit's base contact or a unit he's joined must roll an extra d6 for making a fear or terror test and discard the lowest, which is pretty decent. He's Settra's champion, so he must always issue and accept challenges if possible. However, challenges issued by him cannot be refused. In addition, when in a challenge, he strikes with a killing blow on a 5 or 6 to wound rather than a 6. So he's sort of able to kill and blow people in challenges a bit more easy, but he's only tough as 4 with 2 wounds with light armor, so and a 5-up regen. So there's a good chance he's going to get sponked in a challenge. He does have the Flail of Conquered Kings, which is +2 strength, AP -2, magical attacks, multiple wounds 2. And the strength's only for the first round, but that's like he's going to be strength 6 with -2 AP. Each hit does 2 wounds. And he's got a 5 or 6 killing blow at a challenge or a normal 6. So yeah, he's all right. I mean, he's okay. Like, he's 120 points against, so quite cheap really for what he is. The Arch Necrotect is 90 points. I think this guy's really good. You can take magic items up to 75 points, which is interesting because it opens up some options. He's got this Immortal Overseer rule. So during the command sub-phase, the character may drive a single friendly unit within their command range, but in range, by taking a leadership test. And they get +D3 to their initiative, which I think is pretty good. He's also got Stone Shaper. So during the command sub-phase, if they're not engaged, this character can nominate a friendly Necrolith Colossus, Necrosphinx, or Ushabti, or Venerable Usbahti, until the end of the turn. They nominate a unit improves their armor value of their regen by 1. What's good about that, it doesn't need a test or anything. You just pick something. And his command range is 8, so it's not too bad. It just says representing, just paint one in bright colours, basically, if you want them to be your Arch Necrotect. So I think in a Mortuary cult, having an Arch Necrotect is actually pretty good, because you can increase your regen to like a 4-up on a Necrosphinx. Or a unit of Invulnerable Ushabti could have a decent save, and they're pretty good. I like him a lot. 90 points. He's cheap for what he does. He's got those 2 buffs. So you don't have to be in the unit. So it's quite good. I talked about the cohort, but I'm going to talk about the Venerable Usbahti. So Venerable Usbahti, they're a bit more expensive. They've got 1 pip of extra weapon skill. I think they've got 1 pip of extra strength. And that's probably about it, looking at it. So they've got Ritual Blades and Heavy Armor. They can have an Ancient. They've got Close Order, Indomitable. Magic Resistance 2 is the new thing. Regen. So, again, the same weapon. So extra weapon skill, extra strength, magic res 2, and they cost an extra, I think, like 10 points a model. But yeah, I mean, I like Ushabti a lot. If I was playing Mortuary Cult and they've got a 6-up save, you can get to a 5-up regen. They've got heavy armor. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot to chew through, and they're going to be fairly easy to heal with your bonuses. Skeleton Cavalry, they basically work exactly the same as the infantry version. They can have counter charge, but basically these are just a mixed unit again. Necro Serpents, they are basically Necropolis Knights without the knights, so they're just the mount basically. The important thing, they do have ambush, so they're quite a good ambush unit. 38 points, so 2 of these guys is less than 80 points. That's a pretty decent War Machine Hunter. They do impact hits. They got Indomitable, move through cover. They've got open order. They've got poison attacks, swift stride. So they're pretty good at getting to the enemy war machines, I think. So if you get them on an ambush, so yeah, they're okay. I mean, I don't think they're. You could just take knights or like stalkers. I don't think they really needed that, but it's cool to have a different option. We've got Tomb Guard Chariots, so basically get an extra armor save, which is quite important. They're the same weapon skill. They've got better strength on the crew. They're still tough for 3 wounds, so not much changes there. They've got Cleaving Blow, which is nice. Impact hits D3+1 rather than D3. They've got Indomitable 2 as well. Open order regen, reserve move, swift strike. So they're basically just a slightly better chariot. They're a little bit more expensive, but not an awful lot for what you get, to be honest. The biggest handicap is you're in that list, that cohort list, so you can't take some of the other stuff. But I think they're decent. Like, they're actually pretty good in the game. I think having these that Settra's in, with your battle standard in there, maybe Raider standard or something like that, is pretty good. They can have a magic ban up to 50 as well. Captain can have items up to 50. So there's definitely some options there. And we went through the magic items already, so I'm not going to talk about that. So that's basically everything from a Tomb King point of view. I think really your strength really lies in your rare slots. You've got some really good stuff in your rare slots. I think Scorpions are great. I think some of the seldom seen units from the past, like Swarms and Carrion, have got a role. I don't think you'll see Warsphinxes unless they're a mount for a prince. If you've got a king, you're probably better off putting them on a Bone Dragon. Not much difference in points cost, and the dragon's just better. Especially if you give the breath weapon upgrade to the Warsphinx. I think protecting your Hierophants can be really important. I generally think the massive shooting in the Tomb King army's got more value now. You can stand and shoot. And I think there's some good magic items which increase that, like giving them poison attacks, giving them like having the razor stand on the BSB that can join a unit, then jump into a chariot into another unit, like a unit of cavalry or something, or infantry. It's pretty good. If you're on a horse, you can basically join most units apart from the chariots. So it's pretty good. I think there might be a place for bow Ushabti. I think the combat Ushabti are great if you want a decent hammer. But I also think Necropolis Knights are good. You've got some good options of ambushes. Magic Law's strong. We've got some really good magic items as well. So I think the list is really strong. It needs a bit of play, and I think you've got to be a bit careful because your units do die very quickly, and they are a bit fragile. But at least now with things like chariot runners, skirmish screens, being able to pop swarms up in front of them reliably, rather than having to put markers down at the beginning of the game and hope they're there when you roll it and they scatter in the right place. Now you can just go, right, command phase, pop a unit up, okay, right, pop this, cast my spell, you can't charge me, let's go. I'm gonna bugger off with my conveyance spell, whatever. So you've got lots of ways to get out of dodge. So I think now that protecting the Hierophant, there's a lot more tools in your toolbox. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting army list. I think it makes a lot more sense to have a very balanced list. Like even stuff like going down the Casket and Catapult route is really strong. I like the Necrosphinx a lot. I always have liked it. I think it's cool, but I think now it's actually quite strong. Even the Colossus, if you're trying to shave rare points, you might have to take a Colossus. And he's not bad. He's pretty good. It's a cool model too. I always liked it. I know people thought it was a bit derpy, but I thought it was really cool. I'm really interested about getting the Bone Dragon on the table. It's obviously quite a new thing, so I'd like to play with that. I haven't written any list yet. I'm going to do a list tech show, and I'll write a list for each of the 3 army lists. So I'll do an infamy one for Mortuary Cult. I'll do an infamy one for a Settra list, basically, because I'm going to put Settra in it. If I'm doing a Royal Host, then I'll do a standard, what I would consider taking. And I'm not saying that's the only thing, because I think actually you can write very different lists. You can go down the shooting route, you can go down the chariot route, you can go down the tarp infantry with, you know, big monsters. You could do, I'm going to have all the constructs. There's some really cool lists. I think Tomb Scorpions, you're going to want those. Casket, you're going to want that. You're going to want catapults. Those sort of things are staples. Chariots are a staple. Horse archers, I think, are probably one of the best units for support units in the game in this army list. And I think you know, even like units of 3 chariots operating on the flank, they're going to be pretty hard to deal with, and they're going to be quite scary if you've got multiple of them and they're doing chip damage with their shooting. They've effectively doubled their output in shooting because now they both can shoot, and they've got 360 line of sight, which I think they always had. But yeah, it's good. I think the sort of the things you won't see much would be Stalkers, but you never saw them a lot anyway. Skeleton Horsemen. I think even basic Skellies you'll see. Tomb Guard, I'm not sold on. I think they are really good, but are you going to pay double the points for a slight increase in stat when you could just take double the number of bodies? And I'm not sure you will. I'll still take them because I like them, but you know, that's me. I love Ushabti, so I quite like the idea of, you know, like Tomb Guard, Anvil, Ushabti flanker, some bow units, and they're being protected by these things. So you've got to be a little bit careful about line of sight blocking, but you know, it's good, and that's why Tomb Swarms are good, because they don't block line of sight. So you can put them in front of your bowmen and shoot over them, so that's good. Because they're insignificant. Yeah, and I think that the Tomb Swarms have actually got quite a good place. The more I think about it, I think they're very useful to have. Like the magic item where you put a unit out as well, that's a great speed bump. It's automatic, pretty much. If you're getting your rerolls in and stuff, it's a good chance you're going to get that off. The Arise rule being moved to a rule rather than a spell is really good, because with the magic before, you had these incantations and you didn't have normal spells, so then you rolled your dice and go back to the first book. I think the second book you just cast magic as normal, but you know, you had your spells and they could stop them, and then you just rolled to see how powerful they were. They were always auto cast, and you ended up with like you're trying to do that one magic phase with the jar where you get the charge off, and that was it, and that's the whole game basically. And most people, if you could know how to play around it, you could just stop that. So yeah, I have to take 3 dispel scrolls or whatever, but that's changed a lot now. I'm really excited to get the Tomb Kings on the table. I think they're gonna be a lot of fun to play. I think there's tons of options. And I'm really excited about them. So hopefully you found this useful. This is kind of my overview and my insight into the army. I've played a lot with Tomb Kings back in the past. I think one year I played over 200 games in a year with Tomb Kings in 6th edition, because that's the only army I had, and I played it religiously every week. I think I took it to tournaments, took it to the ETC, where I took like double Necrosphinx, double Stalkers, double like 12 chariots, something stupid like that. So it was solid. I think it's a really good army. So yeah, looking forward to getting mine back on the table once I've managed to put more models together and pick up those few bits and bobs I'm still missing. I did find my Scorpions, so I was quite happy about that because they're converted, so I didn't get rid of those. And so I've got 2 Tomb Scorpions, thank God. So I've still got those. I'm a bit light on my Liche Priest. I had like 4, can't find any. So even in the AOS, I didn't take any Liche Priests because they were very good. So I've only got I've got a Necrotect. I've got a Warsphinx with a prince on it. I've got no chariots. Luckily, I've got 6 on sprue now. So I think I might better pick up another 3 from somebody, because I kind of want 3 units of 3, or able to do like a unit of 6 Tomb Guard chariots. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's exciting time. So hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you did, like, subscribe, all that kind of algorithm stuff. I will be doing another show like this on Bretonnians. I'll try and be as in depth. I've not played Bretts in other editions, so my knowledge isn't as good. But I would endeavour to do them as much justice as I can. I hope you found this really interesting to get an overview of my insight. I will follow this up with the list tech show, as I said already. I think that really gives a real kind of grounding of what I've been talking about, because as soon as you start writing lists, the restrictions on what you can take and what you can't take and what you can combo with what and what you need to have an effective list, they start to really rear their heads, and then you start thinking, I can't quite get that magic item in, or I can't quite do that combo with that character because there's too many points in characters and I don't have enough in my core, or I can't quite get that combination of rare units in. So we'll see how it goes. I am going to the GW, or I'm going to try and get tickets to go to the GW events at Old World in April and May. So if I can get there, then I'm not sure what faction I'll play, because I'll have my High Elves and my Chaos Free base by then, touchwood. But my heart kind of lies with Tomb King, so if I can get a Tomb King army ready, I might try and play them. A lot of that would depend. I really want a Casket of Souls, and I'm really bummed out that I had like 3 of them and I haven't got any now. So I really hope they become available soon. Anyway, that's a tangent. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're all having a great day, and I'll catch you all soon. Cheers, guys. Bye.